Well, well, well. Well, here we go again. And maybe it won't be as bad as it's been in years past. But it's like clockwork. Off season for the Cowboys, and it's another contract dispute. And so today, the Dallas Cowboys officially put the franchise tag on one George Pickens. And I don't really know what's going on with people. They seem to be dancing a jig right now. And, it's like, well, we know that George Pickens is going to be here because of blah, blah, blah. Well, I wouldn't be so sure about that. We got to stop thinking that somebody else won't sign George Pickens because he's an incredible talent. Let's talk Cowboys. We're about to talk facts. Yep. Let's go. Let's go. We got to talk about this today. I'm not worried, but my spidey senses are tingling, and I'm going to show you why today. Because I'm going to tell you, assuming will make a you-know-what out of me and you. Welcome, Cowboy fans and Cowboy haters alike. I'm the G, and I'm the host of Let's Talk Cowboys, where we talk facts. And as you come into this live stream, please hit that like button, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, so you know the next time we post another video or go live. And if you haven't become a channel member or subscriber yet, what are you waiting on? We have a lot of great things coming up this season. Now let's talk facts. The Dallas Cowboys have placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on George Pickens. And I understand where people are coming from because we're just assuming. Nobody's going to give up 2 first-round draft picks for George Pickens. Okay, I've seen stranger things. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I've seen stranger things. And so today we're going to talk about all of that and more. We're going to listen to the Stephen Jones interview on the Rich Eisen show. We're going to check out this thing with George Pickens, some of the things that they're talking about around the NFL. I'm going to show you where there is a possibility the Cowboys could lose George Pickens. We're going to listen to Kyle Humans talk about George Pickens, the draft, and other things. We're going to listen to Christian Parker talk about defense. We're going to look at this story with the NFL and the supposedly prohibited NFL grades that were not supposed to come out, and they came out. And the NFL is furious. And then anything else that might come up as in miscellaneous news. But that's going to be the show today. Stephen Jones, George Pickens. Can we lose George Pickens? Kyle Humans, Christian Parker, NFL grades, miscellaneous news. Let's go. Let's get it. Let's get this quick roll call. Renan Zanguini, what's going on? Appreciate you for letting me know about my screen. He said they do this so that only teams that are truly interested will try to make an offer for Pickens. Oh, I get why they're doing it. But I'm going to show us today that there are some teams that might be absolutely interested in George Pickens. They may absolutely be interested. Bump, TY5X from the 903, my stomping grounds, what's going on? Yeah, 5 points to the star. Bump said, I think we keep Pickens. Dolores, happy Friday. Katharina Kiss, what's going on? Katharina Kiss said, hit that like button. What up, Lynn from the 903? Brandy, what up? 72 Chevelle, what's going on? Lonnie Cabal, what's going on? Davion Wallace, he said, we're not losing GP. Okay, we're going to talk about this. Newhouse fam, what up, Newhouse fam? Good to see you. JCT Slice, you just hit it right on the head. Anything is possible because it's the Joneses. That concerns me, bro. We need to keep him badly. Dak and that wide receiver duo will be, he said, will be what helps us win the number 6 Super Bowl. Got to sign him back. We still have 4. I agree. I 100% agree. Jeff Shack, what up? What up, Jeff Shack? Good to see you. Brandy, appreciate that super chat. She said, I would love to be in the negotiation meetings with Steal. What you call him? Steal your moolah. She said, steal your moolah, Jerry. Brandon, let me tell you what has actually transpired. They haven't even had serious conversation. I'm gonna tell you what the Cowboys have done. They pulled a power move. Tony Nichols, what up, Tony Nichols? He said those fans dancing a jib or those new Cowboys, they gonna learn about Jerry and them. Man, they are dancing a jig today. What up, Ice Cold? What's going on? Derek Harris, what's going on today? All right, let me move it right along. Demetrius Noel, what's going on? Good to see you. John Henry, what up? Chris Dunaway, what's going on, Dunaway? Tony Nichols again, what's going on? The Big Ron Bowski, he said the franchise tag, that's it. 2026 season is over. Another missed playoff season. Yeah. Demetrius said, I don't believe Stephen Jones lies. If GP is so happy, why not a contract? Demetrius, we are going to rip that thing to pieces. I was blown away when Stephen said that. I was blown away when he said George was happy. All right. Big Mouse Dog. Poopy D, what it do? Marvin Mays, what's going on? Man, I hate the business of football. You got to do it, Marvin, but I hate the business of football. I really do. I really do. All right, give yourselves a hand. Best chat on YouTube. Let's talk about this. Let's get into this right now. And so the first thing I want to get into is this Stephen Jones interview. I'm starting to realize something about Stephen Jones. Stephen Jones seems to be the point man this year. He seems to be the point man for all things Cowboys. Because he came out immediately in his combine interview in the hallway, you know, and he just started rattling off and basically gave us an outline of kind of how the Cowboys are probably playing some of these contracts because it's now all coming to fruition. Stephen introduced it. Now we're seeing all the issues. First it was Brandon Aubrey. Now it's George Pickens. So we're watching everything that he was talking about is starting to come to fruition. Dropping these issues on the contract. So I want to listen to this Stephen Jones interview. I haven't listened to it in its entirety. The only thing I've heard is the part that he said about one George Pickens. But it seems to me Stephen Jones is running point this year.
Jonathan Jones, CBS Sports.
Yeah, it seems to me that Stephen Jones is running point this year for the Cowboys because, and as a matter of fact, this isn't even the Rich Eisen interview. Hold on a second. This is actually the This is actually the CBS interview. I actually don't even know when this happened. Let me look real quick. This actually isn't.
Distant.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me pull up the Rich Eisen on ESPN. That's the one I want. Yeah, Rich Eisen interviewed him. It looks like today, and man, he was giddy. I mean, this was mind blowing to me at how Stephen Jones was so giddy. But again, it seems like he's running point this year, and he's the spokesman this year. Nothing from Jerry, nothing from nobody else. Stephen Jones looks like he's kind of running the show.
Here at the Scouting Combine, we've been
James Morris, what's up?
On the Rich Eisen Show, the co-owner of the Dallas Cowboys, the co-chair of the competition committee, and the COO of the Dallas Cowboys.
James said that Jerry Jones is doing what he does best. Now, I don't know, he hadn't lost him yet, but I do say it is naive to think that somebody out there could not possibly come in and say, we want George Pickens. I'm just saying. We'll talk about that in a moment.
How are you, sir?
Well, thank you for the great introduction, Rich. It's great being on.
I'm only spitting facts. You were saying in the commercial break, I'll just hit this. The performances we saw last night in that defensive line and linebacker group was just eye-popping. I've never seen anything like it before.
It's amazing what these athletes can do this day and time. And obviously, my hat's off to them. They train their you-know-what's off in terms of getting prepared, for this. It's obviously a big deal for them. It's a big stage. They know they got all 32 in the house watching them. And, it's all about their future. And it's all about, their families and what they're all about. So really have enjoyed not only the performance on the field, but beating these young men and what they stand for, and just really top-notch individuals.
Well, as you know, we at NFL Network, we've been doing this since 2004 at the Combine. Fastest defensive line group we've ever seen.
Yes.
On the average 40 time. Fastest linebacker group we've ever seen in terms of that. We got the defensive backs tonight. And I know Dallas Cowboy fans you want to put the belly up to the table of these defensive prospects right now. What would you say about that as a concept for your draft choice?
Well, our belly is right in front of the suite. We're paying attention to every last one of them, from the D-line to the linebackers to the safety and corner group. We obviously and are very aware of it and acknowledge that, the way we played defense last year was unacceptable. And, we had historic lows in a lot of categories, not only for the Cowboys, but for the NFL. And we knew we had to roll our sleeves up. Hats off to Coach Schottenheimer. He got on it early and often in terms of, our defensive staff. And, it was very thorough, just like Coach Schottenheimer does everything. Everything was to the nines. I mean, we interviewed multiple defensive coordinator prospects. I think we got in front of the best, and in a lot of cases, young defensive minds in the league. And I think we ultimately came up with a great choice. And then the same process prevailed as we picked each individual position. So, like he is on everything, tons of energy, very authentic in how we went about the process, and, feel like we've checked the first part of the box. Now, as you said, we got to belly up to these prospects here in the draft. We've obviously done some work, doing a lot of work with their vision of what they want for a football player in the defense, and what that will entail in free agency as well. So obviously two big things coming up for us between free agency starting here in a couple of weeks, and then certainly the draft.
Yeah, with 12th overall pick, and who knows who's going to be available there. And obviously, I'm not going to sit here and ask you to predict it, but clearly we saw some really talented defenders last night, and I'm wondering if you sit there and you're watching it. And by the way, our radio audience just returned. Stephen Jones of the Cowboys is here. Do you envision any of those guys from last night wearing a star on the side of the helmet?
Absolutely. I mean, you can't get too caught up in just one of them.
Right.
The good news is, as you said, there were multiple players who went out there and really played well, and in our mind really helped themselves. So, that bodes well for us. I mean, we're not at the very top where we're going to just get to have our choice. So we've got a little bit weight, sitting there at 12 doesn't mean we can't move up. And then obviously we got the 20th pick as well. But the great news, from last night, as you said, there were multiple players who really did well. And that really made us feel good that we're going to be able to get some really good players with with those 2 first-round picks.
So speaking of free agency, you made...
Not going to surprise me. It's not going to surprise me listening to Stephen Jones. The Cowboys got multiple plays in play for those first-round draft picks. I believe they have multiple plays. I believe they're going to hold on to the 12. I really do. I think they're going to hold on to the 12. And and Stephen just said they could possibly move up. I hope they don't move up, because that means they're going to give away more draft capital. But I do think they're going to stand pat at 12, and they're going to take who's ever there. But listen to something that they're saying and what he's saying. Because there are other players now who are probably, their draft stock is rising, I see a scenario where the Cowboys are going to trade back with that number 20 pick. I see a scenario where they're going to trade back and they're going to try to get that number. I think they're going to either try to get back in the 3rd. They're probably hoping for the 2nd round, but I think they're going to try to get back in the 3rd round with that number 20 pick. Do not be surprised if the Cowboys drop down to 23. I've been saying this all along. I wouldn't be surprised if they drop down to 23. And then in the major move, they could actually drop the 12 to the 15 and the 20 to the 23 and try to get back in the second and the third round. But I do think I see the scenario where the Cowboys are going to, I think they're going to try and go and get them. I think they're going to try to get back into the second or the third round.
News today, franchise tag for George Pickens. Can you walk me through that process and what you see happening now?
Yeah, I think, the difficult thing, which.
Now, I want y'all to follow this. Let me get a couple more greetings in. James Morris again, what's going on? Jeremy Betts in here. What up, Jeremy Betts? Good to see you today. John Jones Jr. What up, John Jones? John Jones Sr. What's going on? You know it's the New Jack City. Tatiana is up in here. What's going on? Dak Owens. What's going on? Salute Dak Owens. What's going on with you? Good to see you. But again, I'm just wondering if the Cowboys are being just a little bit naive in all of this. And Brandy says, Mulaghetto. She says, but again, Mr. Steal Your Moolah. Mr. Steal Your Moolah is starting to get a reputation of getting his clients almost all their money guaranteed. He is. He puts tremendous pressure on teams. Timothy Jackson, he said, keeping GP should be priority number one, but if the right team makes the right offer, they'll take it. Oh, they ain't got no, yeah, I think they're going to take it. No doubt about it. I think they're going to take it. And I don't even think it could be the right offer. I think the issue is that a team might actually, I think a team may actually price them out. I think a team may actually price them out. Big Mouse Dog said AOC was talking about the tag earlier. He said it takes all the guessing out of it. I don't know if it takes all the guessing out of it in the same thing. Okay, now let's finish what it says. Let the league name the George Pickens price. Yes, this is what the Cowboys are doing. This is where they're playing chess. Now, understand, they could be playing chess, or at least they think. They may think they're playing chess. But David Mulaghetto, or as Brandy calls him, Mr. Steal Your Moolah, let me tell you something about these agents. Don't let these agents fool you. See, this isn't about George Pickens. I'm telling y'all right now. This is not about George Pickens. The Cowboys love George Pickens. This isn't about George Pickens. This is about these agents. And what the Cowboys are trying to do, they're trying to figure out, how do you outsmart these agents? Because these agents are absolutely genius. These agents are putting tremendous pressure on teams week after week after week after week. They put tremendous pressure. Year after year after year. They put tremendous pressure on teams. And so what teams are trying to do, or at least some of these teams, and the Cowboys is in that group, they're trying to figure out, like, how do we fight these agents? How do we fight these agents? I mean, because you absolutely need these players. And so you really are in a situation where you just have to say you're either willing to lose a player or you're willing to pay a player. And so this non-exclusive tag, we're going to talk about it here in just a moment. The Cowboys see this as a checkmate move. The Cowboys believe they're playing checkers. But let me tell you something. I don't believe these agents are playing checkers. I don't believe these agents are playing checkers. I don't know if y'all are Star Trek fans, but I remember one time watching Star Trek, and Spock, Mr. Spock, was playing on a board that was 3 levels. These agents are actually playing on 3-level boards. They're not playing just chess. These guys, I'm telling you right now, these agents are very smart, and especially athletes first. They're very smart. You don't think that athletes first anticipated what the Cowboys are doing? This isn't a checkmate move. They've anticipated this. I promise you they have. Because if I was a good agent, the video I did last week on George Pickens, I mentioned the non-exclusive tag. Because I said that's the Cowboys. If they're not going to extend George Pickens, that's their only play. They have to put him on a non-exclusive. Because that non-exclusive tag is kind of like a threat. The non-exclusive tag is telling David Mulugeta, hey, we're willing to lose, GP. Do y'all remember when we were saying that George Pickens should tell his agent that he wants to stay in Dallas no matter what? Well, the Cowboys are actually telling David Mulugeta. This is how they're fighting David Mulugeta. We're willing to lose George Pickens. But we're going to play our ace in the sleeve. But we're going to get 2 first-round picks in the process. But I'm telling you right now, these agents aren't dumb. These agents aren't dumb. David Mulugeta is already contemplating in his mind and probably pulling out whatever feelers that he can put out there without doing anything illegal or doing it where anybody knows it. It will not shock me if there are teams that are willing to go for George Pickens. Because contrary to what people believe, 2 first-round draft picks is not a must. It's not a must. I'm going to read you how that exclusive tag reads, and you're going to see what I'm telling you. Man, I'm telling you, these agents, these guys are ferocious. They're different, man. They're different. I hope this does all add up to George Pickens staying here. I just want to make sure he stays here under the right circumstances and there are no hard feelings in this business situation. Because I'm telling you, man, boy, y'all better understand who we playing with. Man, these dudes are vultures. These dudes are vultures. They anticipated this entire situation. They anticipated it. They're not even tripping. Rombowski said not only do other teams have to name the price, but they got to do so knowing they're putting their first 2-round picks up too. It'll help to keep those offers in check. Big Rombowski, I'm going to show you something. And I'm telling you right now, we're actually thinking, because I know what Stephen Jones is thinking. Let's watch the rest of this video, what he says about George Pickens. This is what people used to call back in the day. You ever heard somebody say, but they use the other word? You ever heard somebody say that somebody got a boo-boo eating grin? But they use the SH word. You ever heard somebody say, yeah, he got a boo-boo eating grin? Because they got a boo-boo eating grin because they think they got you where they want you. And this is how Stephen Jones is looking. Just watch how he's looking.
Everybody sees, is when we're already paying one of the best receivers, if not the best, in CeeDee Lamb at the very top of the market. And then obviously.
Now, I want you to just dissect everything he's saying. That we already got one of the best wide receivers, possibly the best wide receiver. I just want you to dissect this, how Stephen Jones is talking. Man, I'm telling you, just listen. This Stephen Jones is talking real slick.
Paying one of the best receivers, if not the best, in CeeDee Lamb.
Got to listen to how people talk. You got to listen to how people talk. I'm not sure I'd be making that statement. I mean, I don't think he should be making that statement, talking about George Pickens, because I wouldn't be making that statement. There are people who, how many times were we arguing this year? George Pickens is better than CeeDee Lamb. How many times were we arguing this? Well, Stephen Jones just said CeeDee Lamb may be the best wide receiver in football. So if CeeDee Lamb is the best wide receiver in football, or maybe the best wide receiver in football, where does that leave George Pickens? Where does that? All I'm telling you is always listen to what people are saying and how they're saying it. This is vintage Stephen Jones. We already have one of the best wide receivers, or possibly the best wide receiver in the league, and we're already paying him. Oh, what are you saying? You don't want to pay George Pickens that same amount of money or more? Listen to how this man is talking. And I'm telling you something. Man, these agents be listening. Man, these agents are listening to this stuff. I'm telling y'all right now, David Mulugeta hasn't even blinked yet. David Mulugeta hasn't even blinked, contrary to what anybody may think. David Mulugeta hasn't blinked.
Lamb at the very top of the market, and then obviously with the performance George had last year, you can imagine what his expectation is. So that's a challenge.
Now listen. I just want you to dissect every part of Stephen Jones. He said CeeDee Lamb may be the best wide receiver in the league. But then when he talks about George Pickens, he says, and with the performance he had last year, you could only imagine what his expectations are. Man, I am telling you, sometimes when you're dealing with these types of things, you know what would be best to do? Shut your mouth. Shut up. This is the part that's been bothering me about Stephen Jones. I'm not even tripping on the quote-unquote non-exclusive tag. Stephen Jones is out of here talking real slick about the mouth the last 3 or 4 days. This is Stephen Jones. With the performance that George Pickens had? No. The same conversation you're having about CeeDee Lamb is the same conversation you should be having about George Pickens. You also should be saying about him, he's possibly the best wide receiver in the league, or he's one of the top 5 wide receivers in the league. You should be talking about him the same way. This is Stephen Jones. Just listen. Subtle shots. Just also subtle. As in justification of why we're doing what we're doing. Because I think in the grand scheme of things, what he's saying, we don't want to pay George Pickens CeeDee Lamb money. We don't want to pay him CeeDee Lamb money. I want y'all to think. I'm gonna let Steven keep talking, but y'all better listen of why I'm saying, is it possible the Cowboys could lose George Pickens? Just keep listening to Stephen Jones.
We readily admit that. And at the same time, we also know and found out what 2 really premier receivers can do for an offense. And especially if you put them with a quarterback like Dak Prescott, we really had an explosive offense that we feel like if we can get the defense right on the other side of the ball, that we can compete for a championship. And certainly watching this year's Super Bowl, I don't think a lot of people when the season started had the 2 people that were in it as guys who were going to be participants. But hats off to them. They did a great job. But we feel like, we're very capable of fixing this defense. And then the way George went out and complimented CD, the way Dak used him, and we've already made a move to go ahead and solidify Javonte Williams being back, who was a big part of that offense running the football.
Let me ask y'all a question. Let's just be honest. Can I ask y'all a question? Did George Pickens compliment CeeDee Lamb? I'm just asking for a friend. Did George Pickens compliment CeeDee Lamb? I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with this kind of talk. And the only reason why I'm saying this is I don't like the way Stephen Jones talks. Because Stephen Jones, from time to time, Stephen Jones devalues people. He devalues people. And he said that George Pickens complimented. I don't think he complimented CD. I don't think he complimented CD Lamb this year. I don't think he did. I don't think he complimented him. No. For whatever reason, George Pickens was actually the premier wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. One of the reasons being, and let's keep it all the way real, CD Lamb got injured this year. CD Lamb got injured this year. George was the premier wide receiver. Bar none. And I hear everything Stephen Jones is saying. But Stephen Jones, you can tell, he's talking from a position of power. Because he believes they've checkmated David, Mr. Steal Your Moolah. Mr. Steal Your Moolah. I think he's checkmated.
Coach Schottenheimer and his offensive staff were committed to running the ball.
And even when you listen to him talk about the two teams that were in the Super Bowl, the one thing I'm realizing about Stephen Jones, he wants to be the New England Patriots of that group. He doesn't want to be the Seattle Seahawks. He doesn't want to be the Seattle Seahawks. He wants to be the Patriots. But I'm going to tell y'all this, man. The reason why we need George Pickens and everything else we can get, it's only going to get tougher to go to the Super Bowl this coming year. Because the same plan that the Cowboys have, everybody else has the same plan too. Everybody else has the same plan too. And some of those people are farther along than we are as it applies to getting to the Super Bowl. We got to make moves that get us there quicker. And the one thing that I don't want us to do is to add by subtracting. And I'm not telling y'all I want the Cowboys to pay this man $45 million. The Cowboys have got to make sure they get GP paid. And there is some absolute danger. There is some absolute danger in letting the market or let the teams set the market for George Pickens, because Puka Nacua is probably about to break the bank. And I'm not going to be surprised if the Seattle Seahawks go ahead and say, you know what, we're not going to pay Jackson Smith and Jigba an extra $5 or $6 million next year. If Puka Nacua breaks the bank, we're going to come back and let Jigba break the bank by $1 more than him. That will raise the floor of where George Pickens is. And I'm telling you right now, man, don't stop thinking that a team won't come along and steal George Pickens. Stop thinking this. And I'm going to tell you why in just a moment.
Then we got a really good tight end room and a lot of resources and a nice offensive line. So feel good about that side of the ball. As you said, we've got to get with it now on the defensive side. We've got a great staff. Now we've got to put the players with the group of players, which we do feel like we've got some nice players on the defensive side of the ball. We've got to get some more to go with them.
Is this the beginning, though, with you talking about George, or it's a franchise tag?
Absolutely. I mean, we're not putting any time frame on this. I mean, the most important thing is live in the present. We think we just love that George is going to be back. Jerry had a great visit with him yesterday. He was fired up that he wasn't going to be going anywhere. And we all understand, too, you know, economically, guys probably would prefer a long-term deal, but the franchise tag.
Now, dissect this part. Dissect it. Stephen Jones, and this is what irks me. Stephen Jones just told us, and this is where David Mulugeta is going to fight them. I'm telling y'all now, this has the potential to get ugly. Steven said there's no timeline on this. I'm sorry. If I'm the Cowboys, I actually want to put a timeline on this. I want to see if I can get this George Pickens deal done expeditiously. I want to see what are teams talking about next week when free agency opens up. And if it's me, it is my goal and my business. I'm going to sign George Pickens. If I want to keep George Pickens, I'm going to get the deal done immediately after next week. I'm going to get the deal done then. Because the offers for George Pickens should start coming in, I'm sure, pretty early. If people want George Pickens. Why drag this out to July? Why drag this out? No, there needs to be a timeline. This does not need to hover over this franchise. What would be, if you're going to fully know what the offers are for GP within the next 3 weeks, that should be your time frame. But this is telling you something about Steven. Man, understand what Steven is saying. No, we're going to be willing to fight this thing if we have to. We're going to be willing to tangle. We're going to be willing to tangle with David Mulugeta all the way up until the deadline. We're going to be willing to do it. I'm telling you right now, we're about to see a serious game of chicken if the Cowboys don't find a way to come with it. And I'll give you another scenario. George Pickens will have to intervene. George Pickens will have to intervene if they want to get a deal done within the range of where the Cowboys are probably wanting to get GP. George is going to have to intervene. Because if not, I'm telling you right now, and David Mulugeta, I'm sorry, these guys don't sweat. They don't sweat. I'm telling you, you go low, they go to hell. They go to hell when you go low. They are not concerned about any of this yik-yakking the Cowboys are doing. They're not concerned because I told y'all last week, when it comes to agents, your team is not their favorite team. Because if your team is their favorite team, then they work for your team. Their team is you. Their job is to get you. And I heard somebody say the other day, what are these Cowboys guys talking about? It's the agent's job to get the deal done. No, it's not. It's not his job. His job is to get his client the best deal possible. That's his job. That's what you're hiring for. These guys aren't sweating. And I hear all this stuff that Stephen Jones is saying. Stephen Jones is talking like this is checkmate. No, you don't need to let this continue to go on. You do not need to let this continue to go on. Instead, you need to actually get this done. Because the one thing you don't want to do with GP is the same mistake you made with Michael Parsons. You don't want to take GP past the draft. The Cowboys take GP past the draft. Shame on them. Shame on them. It's going to be their fault all over again. You don't get to go get the George Pickens replacement this season if you don't get this deal done before the draft. Man, what are you talking about? You're not putting on. There need to be a serious time limit on this. A serious time limit. Man, the next 2 to 3 weeks will be plenty of time to know what people will be willing to pay George Pickens.
Economically, he's not bad either, but he was very fired up about his future with us. We felt like he wanted to be in Dallas. He certainly said that to Jerry yesterday. Jerry was just said he was on cloud 9 that he was going to be a Cowboy again.
All right.
So somebody explain this to me. Let me tell you what Stephen Jones is trying to sell us. Stephen Jones is actually trying to tell us that George Pickens was happy to be on a franchise tag. What player is happy to be on a franchise tag? What player? Y'all tell me. Y'all tell me what player. What player do you know that came out and said, man, I'm happy to be on the franchise tag? Tell me that player. Icewall said, Dallas, appreciate that super chat, Icewall. He said, Dallas needs GP and GP needs Dak Prescott. Both facts. The Jones are ego-driven. They're still hot about Micah. This may not end well for the fans. Yeah. Yep. I understand what they're doing, Ice Wall. I understand what they're doing. They're trying to figure out a way of how do you get the upper hand on these agents. I'm just telling you, it's hard. It's hard to get the upper hand on these agents. It's hard, man. I'm just telling you, point blank range. It's hard to get the upper hand on these agents. And that's why I'm laughing, though. I'm laughing. This man just said George Pickens was excited about being on a tag? I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. Why would this man be happy to be on a tag? Why would he be happy? It is every player's dream to sign that big deal and get that guaranteed money and get that 3-year guaranteed $60+ million deal. I don't understand the logic of people. You could walk on that field with a franchise tag and be done. You could be done. You would rather not be on that field with a franchise tag. You want to get your guaranteed 3-year deal with whatever team to solidify your future. I don't understand people who, and again, only thing I can say is it's spoken like, I think it's hard sometimes for people to put themselves in someone's position. But this is almost like somebody, cheating you at a loan shark. It's like somebody cheating you on a payday loan. Yeah, would you rather have 28 million? Will you rather have 28 million right now or hold out about 3 more months and get $60 million in 3 months? Well, you could die in 3 months and you wouldn't get the 60 million. But if you take it today, you get the 28 million. These are some of the dumbest arguments when I hear people say stuff like that. He's got to play the season to get the 28 million. That's per week. The 60 million. He gets that no matter if he touches the field or not. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? 28 million guaranteed versus 60? I don't even understand what we be talking about on this stuff. I don't understand what this stuff even means when people saying stuff like that. And then we got people who are really trying to put this young man under pressure. Well, with his attitude, his past attitude and things that people say about him, it wouldn't bode too well for him if he tried to pull something to where he didn't play on the franchise tag and tried to get more money. It is a crying shame to do. I understand the business, but that's dirty business. It's dirty business. It's dirty business. It is extremely dirty business. It's dirty business. But these are the things that people are saying.
Stephen Jones here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk about the competition committee. Is the tush push?
Real votes. Obviously, one thing that is important, and I think you would hear this from Rich or Troy or anybody, is sometimes the replay assist group, it takes a while to get the quote-unquote kill shot, the shot that really shows here.
All right, now I'll let you watch the rest of that on your own with all the competition committee stuff. But Stephen Jones is talking like somebody who has checkmated somebody. I know what he's doing because it is a great move by the Cowboys. It is a great move what they're doing. I understand what they're doing. They are battling. This is nothing about George Pickens. The Cowboys are battling this athletes first. They're battling David Mulugeta. This is David Mulugeta versus Jerry Jones, either part 2, part 3, or part 4. This is the Cowboys trying to figure out a way again to beat these agents. Because inside of this same interview, I believe, hold on a second, inside of the same interview,
exactly,
Brandon Aubrey is talked about.
A few days where we're looking at that. And one of the issues that we struggle with right now, without a flag down.
Do something like that, because what if there's a defensive penalty?
Some, but for that to happen.
Maybe it was yesterday, but he talked about Brandon Aubrey too. And he was saying that he believes that the Cowboys can come to a deal with Brandon Aubrey. And I can tell you now, he came out talking about Brandon Aubrey because, again, it was another negotiation tactic that they were trying to use on Brandon Aubrey and his agent. But it don't seem like to me that Brandon Aubrey and his agent, Todd France, are probably going to budge. Whatever it is that they're asking for, it's going to come out that Brandon Aubrey is probably going to be making somewhere around $8 million a season as a kicker for the Cowboys. Because I'm telling you right now, they're not going to let him go. They're not going to let him go. They are going to sign Brandon Aubrey. We're just going to see how they do this with GP. Gronkowski said it's not 3D chess. These agents simply want to turn the NFL into the NBA, where players get to hold the financial power over the teams. The main battle in the NFL is and always will be guaranteed money. There it is. That's the battle. That's the battle. And that's why for me, if I'm if I was a player, I'd be going for guaranteed money. I don't care nothing about no front-loaded contract. I want guaranteed money. Derek Harris, you are obviously not listening to me. Because if you're listening to what I'm telling you, I want the Cowboys to sign George Pickens. I've been an advocate to sign George Pickens. That's where I am on this. I'm just telling you where the Cowboys are on this and how they're trying to use the checkmate on George Pickens. No, I don't want you to take in anything that I'm saying. I don't want the Cowboys to sign George Pickens, because anybody who's been listening to me and watching me on X, I want the Cowboys to extend George Pickens. It is a mistake. It would be a huge mistake if the Cowboys did not extend George Pickens. You cannot subtract from this team. You cannot add by subtracting. You can't take away George Pickens, get 2 picks, and think you're going to be better this season. You can't do it. No, they need to get this done. They need to get this done. Wet Work, he says, what's going on, Wet Work? He said, Mulugeta's not even GP's agent. Trevin Smith is his legit agent, and doubt he wants to allow greedy agent David Mulugeta to get any parts of this client's payday. Why would he do that? I'm thinking, from what my understanding is, I said the same thing last year, but I think that he is also in the care of one David Mulugeta too. I think he's also in the care of David Mulugeta. Let me make sure. But I do think that George Pickens' agent is, let's see. Yeah, George Pickens is now, that was last year. George Pickens' agent right now is actually David Mulugeta. I made the same argument last year, Wet Work. Yeah, Trevon Smith or whatever his name is, it's not his agent. It's David Mulugeta. Yep, David Mulugeta is his agent. All right, let's just do a couple other things as they talk about George Pickens over here. I got another article where they're talking about George Pickens. Let's see, hold on a second. All right, let's check this discussion out they're having about George Pickens. Like, what will the Cowboys do going
the
forward?
Non-exclusive franchise tag, which means he can still negotiate with other teams. I asked people around the league. They weren't so surprised by this. They didn't really think it was an issue, but he has the ability to entertain offers.
But no one's going to give up 2 number ones, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's a real risk, but they were comfortable enough with where they're at. And yes, it should be somewhere in the $28-29 million range now that we finally have this official salary cap set for 2026 at $301.2 million. The they'll be able to get the exact prices for all of these players. To me, this is a starting point, but it could end up being an ending point. I'm not sure they get a multi-year deal done by the July 15th deadline, and here's why. I think when you start this, George Pickens inspires more confidence from the Cowboys in his 1,400-plus yard season, 9 touchdowns on the field than he does off the field, and also on the field in his best moments than every moment. I mean, that Detroit Lions game, there were questions about his efforts.
Absolutely.
The Las Vegas Raiders game, he's missing curfew, bringing CeeDee Lamb with him, and they weren't playing at the beginning of the game. It's not a perfect bill of health, even if he caused fewer distractions this year than he did in his 3 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but you got to ask this question. And so you start there. I think secondly, this is a premium position. We were just talking about non-premium positions in the draft. Receivers, expensive. And so, yes, he's going to get $28 and change million, which is good pay and a huge raise from what he was previously getting on his third-round pick rookie contract. But CeeDee's making $34 million. And when I talk to people around the league of what a multi-year extension would look like, some of them were saying $36 million, which not only becomes very expensive because you'd have Dak making $60 million a year, CeeDee Lamb making $34 million, and George making $36 million in this potential scenario. And obviously you could play with the cap numbers, but that would be the average annual value.
That's $130 million out of your 301.
And you also have to say, well, how would CeeDee Lamb react if he's all of a sudden no longer making the most money on the receivers? And you're telling everyone, we know, look, people around the league will tell you George Pickens is more talented than CeeDee Lamb. Whether he's going to reach that ceiling is a bigger question because CeeDee Lamb has shown it consistently for more time. So I'd say that's number 2 in terms of the cost and the potential dynamics. Number 3 is a year ago, before the Micah Parsons trade, there was this decade-plus long history of if you're Dak, if you're CeeDee, if you're DeMarcus Lawrence, if you're Zeke, if you wait, you'll get the top of the market record-setting value. And so the agents were not inclined to particularly move with the Cowboys. Well, now the Cowboys said, no, we don't want to do that for Micah, particularly when there are some leadership questions they had about him. And so that kind of changes this calculus. So if the Cowboys take the logic they had on Micah Parsons of great player, some questions about his ability to do it in the biggest moments and always do it, and questions about the locker room, okay, we don't want to pay him top of market at a premium position of $40 million, $30 million. If you take that logic, you're not giving George Pickens the contract now. You're saying we want to wait another year and have more of a sample size. So that's where I think this goes. I would not be surprised if they play out the tag. I'm sure there will be conversations. I also think that David Mulugeta doesn't give discounts.
I'm telling you, I know. I can hear exactly what Steven is doing. I can hear exactly what he's doing. They don't want to give George Pickens. It sounds like to me, at least it sounds like, they don't want to give George Pickens a multi-year extension unless he's going to give them the friendliest of friendly team deals. That's what it sounds like to me. And it's amazing to me. We have been programmed. We have been hearing this for a month. We have been hearing every reason. Follow what I'm telling you. We have been programmed for this very moment. We've been programmed for it. Because if you listen to the pundits, the 3 and 4 letter networks, the people who cover the Cowboys, we've heard the whole gamut. This lady, what's her name? Jory Epstein. She just covered everything almost we've been hearing about George Pickens. Everybody has given the reason why. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you the reason why I think people have hated on George Pickens so much. People have hated on George Pickens so much because, let's just be honest, they were wrong about George Pickens. Bottom line, they were wrong. Every last one of them, they were wrong. They were wrong. They thought George Pickens was going to come here. He was going to be disruptive. They thought he was going to come here and be a problem in the locker room. They thought he was going to come here and just be okay as a complimentary wide receiver to CeeDee Lamb. And lo and behold, he almost took the number 1 position. That's the facts, Jack. They all are wrong about George Pickens, and that's their problem. And so what they've done ever since this season has ended, we've heard everything from Nick Harris saying he talked to a GM from the AFC, and that GM said he was not worth more than a second round pick. We've been hearing everybody talking about, I mean, you can name them. Oh, if I was the Cowboys, I wouldn't extend him. I'd make him play on the tag, make him prove it. One more year. How many people have we heard this from? Then we've been hearing people talk about, oh, he's only had one good season. That's because you're not looking at the 5 quarterbacks he played with, 5 of the most terrible quarterbacks in the league. And then it's a travesty they're still in the league. And GP still 15 point something yards per clip and still was almost getting 1,000 yards. People have been programming us for this moment so that when the Cowboys make this move, and the Cowboys turn this into a pressure situation against George Pickens in his camp, that we all say, well, it is what it is. And if he don't want to be here, then we get 2 first-round picks, and we'll be fine without George Pickens. Keep believing that dumb narrative. Keep believing that dumb narrative. It's a dumb narrative. It's a narrative designed for us to accept any of this nonsense. Rombowski said GP played at the level in which he deserves to get paid close to Lamb, and Cowboy doesn't see that, then he shouldn't be anywhere near running an NFL franchise. I'm telling you. This is crazy. Bass said top executives around the league met the Joneses at these executive meetings and literally told them it was hard for their team to scheme against Lamb and Pickens. Why would you get rid of that? Well, I can tell you what they're saying. I can tell you what they're saying. Cowboys are basically telling these agents, we're willing. We're willing to let George Pickens go. That's what they're telling them. And they think they have checkmate because they're saying, because we know that there's no team out there. There is no team out there that'll give up 2 first-round picks for George Pickens. That's what they're counting on. The guy in this video said, I've been hearing everybody else say it on X. Oh, nobody's going to give up 2 first-round picks for George Pickens. Everybody's been saying that. Okay. Let me show you something.
Yes! Here we go!
Now, we have to understand, is it more likely than not? I don't know at this point. I'll be honest. I don't know if it's more likely than not, because you got to understand where George Pickens is in this entire thing. You're George Pickens' agent, and you're telling George Pickens what the Cowboys have done, because I'm sure George is already knowing what the Cowboys have done. That's why I'm calling cap on Stephen Jones. I'm calling cap on Stephen Jones. To say that George Pickens was ecstatic about being on a tag. Tell me the last time you heard somebody say that. Tell me. I don't know. Maybe I'm dumb. I haven't heard anybody say they were happy to play on the tag. Now, Dak played on the tag, but Dak wasn't happy he played on the tag. And the reason why we know Dak wasn't happy he played on the tag, because Dak came back and tore the Cowboys up on that contract. Dak came back and tore them up on that contract. Why? Because they ticked him off. That Dak Prescott had to go out there and get his ankle turned around backwards to get a deal. You better believe Dak was ticked playing on that tag. I've heard nobody say that a player is happy to play on the tag. Now, if you're telling George Pickens it's only a placeholder and we're going to pay you and you're going to be a Cowboy for the next 4 to 5 years, okay, I get it. But it sounds like to me they are perfectly fine with this man taking a chance playing on the tag. And I'll be honest with you, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't. Davion Wallace said this tag is finna tell us if he wants to be here. I disagree. I think George Pickens wants to be here. Why does he have to be here and take a? Why does he have to want to be here by taking a discount? I don't agree with that. I respect it, but I don't agree with it. Jerry Best said, I don't think he checkmated them, but he not backing down from the argument. I'll say he's saying you move, in my opinion. We willing to live with the outcome. Okay, that's checkmate. I understand what you. Hey, I agree with you, but that's checkmate. Steven thinks he's checkmated these agents, but man, let me tell y'all something. Let me paint a bigger. Let me paint a broader stroke for y'all, and let me tell you where I'm coming from. This isn't about George Pickens for me. Some of it is, but this is about the Dallas Cowboys. We cried like babies for the last 2 years that we needed another wide receiver. Well, you got another wide receiver. And you didn't just get a wide receiver. You got a wide receiver with a ceiling that is so high, he may actually be better than CeeDee Lamb. I didn't tell you he was, but he may be better than CeeDee Lamb in the next 2 years, because even Jory or Epstein said, if you ask people around the league, they say George Pickens is better than CeeDee Lamb. Now, I'd like to know who they are. But there are a lot of Cowboy fans who think that. Why? Because George Pickens is 24 years old with a very high ceiling. I'm sorry, the Cowboys lucked up into this, and you don't get these kind of opportunities too many times. You just don't get these opportunities a lot. And you got to understand, when you get something so rare, you got to be willing to say, man, this is too rare. We got to keep this. We got to do whatever we got to do to keep this. I understand not being at the mercy of agents, but man, you got to figure out a way to keep this. George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb is incredible. They're incredible. You got to keep them together. They are better together. You got to keep them. Just in case something happened like it happened this year. One of them goes down, you got the other one. Ryan Flanoy and CeeDee Lamb can carry you for a few games. George Pickens and Ryan Flanoy can carry you for a few games. But Ryan Flanoy and George Pickens are not going to carry you an entire season and in the playoffs of the Super Bowl, and neither is CD and Ryan Flanoy. Even though some people might argue that you probably could do it with George Pickens because he's different. I'm telling you, man, this guy is different. This guy is different. Now, let me show you this part. I'm not in the boat with people who are saying that there's not a team out there that'll pay George Pickens. And I understand the reasoning behind people saying this. I understand what they're saying. I was reading this on A to Z Sports. Now, let me show you what the Cowboys are banking on and what this lady, Jory Epstein, and these other two guys are banking on. They're saying what this happened. It says, while yes, on paper, it says another NFL team could negotiate with Pickens, it's highly unlikely to happen. Now, watch what they say. Put yourself on another GM's shoes for a second. It says entering negotiations with Pickens' camp would require a lot of effort. What does this mean? What does it mean that it would require a lot of effort? So you tell me that it would take you more than one sit down with George Pickens' camp to determine whether or not that you were going to sign George Pickens. Why are we saying it will require a lot of effort? It says alongside a strong offer, would you juggle all of your usual tasks like free agency, NFL draft prep, in-house extensions, with trying to make a deal work when it would possibly be matched by the Cowboys, that it's like working for free? Let me tell you why this statement is totally wrong. It says, and by the way, if the deal is ultimately executed, remember you need to give up 2 first-round picks. For a quarterback, even an edge rusher, it could make sense. But the Cowboys can rest easy knowing they likely won't be threatened by other NFL teams. It says if the Cowboys aren't interested in matching an offer from somebody else and instead seek to trade Pickens, they can negotiate the compensation. In this scenario, however, the front office would be looking into a trade more than getting a long-term deal. So even the 2 first-round picks, that isn't a necessity. You could still negotiate another way for that team to get George Pickens, even if it wasn't the 2 first-round picks. But let me dismantle this argument for a moment. I think we're underestimating how bad a team may want to win the Super Bowl. I think we're underestimating that. These teams today want to win Super Bowls bad. We saw where Sean McVay was willing to sell the farm. He was willing to sell the farm to get to a Super Bowl. Some of these franchises are willing to do it. Some of these franchises may feel like they're 1 or 2 players away from getting to where they need to be. Why would anybody think that sitting down with George Pickens, why do I need multiple meetings? I've been put on notice today that George Pickens is going to be a free agent. I've been put on notice today. So what would stop me today to say, hey, you know what? I want to take a shot at George Pickens. I want to take a shot at George Pickens. What would stop me today saying, let's put together a package? We already know we got to give up 2 first-round picks. So let me show you something that I think that we're all underestimating. Let me show you something I think we're all underestimating. I think we're underestimating this group of teams right here. I think we're underestimating this group of teams. If I'm the if I'm the Seattle Seahawks, I don't care nothing about no first-round draft pick. What do I care about a first-round draft? Man, I'm at number 32. I care nothing about a first-round draft pick. If I'm the New England Patriots, what do I care about a first-round draft pick? I'm drafting at number 31. If I were to get George Pickens, I would give you this year's first-round pick. What do I care? I'm number 31. I'm number 32. George Pickens, if I were the New England Patriots and I got George Pickens, he could be the very thing that pushes us over the top. So the next time we get to the Super Bowl, because the thing would be getting back to the Super Bowl, and I believe he would be a player that could help me get there, that means I'm going to be drafting at number 32, 31, 29, 30, or somewhere 25 or more. What do I care about a first-round draft pick? If I'm the Denver Broncos, what do I care about a first-round draft pick? If I'm the Rams, they already got their wide receiver crew. If I'm the Houston Texans, what do I care about a first-round draft pick? I'm number 28. I'm the San Francisco 49ers. I'm the Buffalo Bills. Explain to me again, why would those teams not be willing to give up a first-round draft pick? If I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars, if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, if I'm the Cleveland Browns, what makes somebody think I care about a first-round draft pick? But especially these teams back here at 23 and below? Because they're saying if we get George Pickens, we're going to be even further back. Because if we get George Pickens, we're going to be in the 30s drafting. Man, we overvalue. See, here, I understand where we are. Because here we're saying we're valuing 2 first-round picks. But is the Seattle Seahawks really valuing 2 first-round picks? 32, New England, Denver, Rams, Houston Texans, San Francisco 49ers. Are they really valuing that? I'm sorry, I don't understand what people are talking about. Because if it were me, And if I'm these teams right here, tell me anything you want to. You can tell me anything you want to. But if I'm the Buffalo Bills, it's not too hard for me to sit down with George Pickens. It's not too hard for me. Well, what do you mean? What kind of work do I have to do? What work? What work is it requiring? I need to sit down and come up with a number. Okay, I'm coming to the table. I'm coming to the table, GP. I'm coming to the table with $38 million. I'm coming to the table. $38 million, $70 million guaranteed, 4-year deal, 3-year guaranteed. Hey, it's on you. How hard is that? Oh, Dallas Cowboys, by the way, you can have our 2 first-round picks. Why? Because we're already way at the back of the draft. And if we get GP, this going to take Josh Allen to another level because his wide receivers couldn't catch this year. We're going to get him GP. He got a rocket of an arm, and we plan on going to the Super Bowl with George Pickens. Why would 2 first-round picks matter to the Buffalo Bills? Knowing they're drafting way back in the draft. Jacksonville Jaguars. Why would it matter? Trevor Lawrence needs a signature receiver. Why would it matter to the Jacksonville Jaguars to give the Cowboys this year's first round and also next year's first round, knowing that that first round pick is probably going to be further back than this year's pick? Denver Broncos. Bo Nix needs a signature wide receiver. We're saying that no team would give up 2 first-round picks because we're thinking about us. We're thinking about us because we need 2 first-round picks. But a team like the Denver Broncos, a team like this, and this is the team that I'm really like, I could see them doing this deal. San Francisco 49ers. You don't think they'd love to give George Pickens? Give Brock Purdy George Pickens? Do we really think the 49ers would have a problem with giving up this year's first-round pick? Giving up next year's first-round pick? We are talking about this thing from our perspective as if we need first-round picks bad. Teams that are winning, those first-round picks don't mean as much to them. Because to them, they can't go in the draft this year and get the replacement for George Pickens. For them, they can't go in the draft next year and get the replacement for George Pickens. But if I'll just give up my first-round pick this year and get George Pickens, that pick this year for George Pickens would be more valuable than 2 first-round picks at number 30, 31, and 32. We're talking about this from our perspective. But this is people, again, trying to control a narrative. This is people, again, trying to control a narrative. Because there are people out there, and I don't care what anyone says, there are people out there who don't want the Cowboys to have George Pickens, or the other part is, and if George Pickens stays here, they want George Pickens to play on a very team-friendly deal. Keep on playing. I'm laughing that this is what we're saying, that we're like, oh, yeah, man, no big deal, because there's no way that no team is going to offer this man or offer the Cowboys 2 first-round picks. Believe what you want to. Believe what you want to. That's all I'm going to tell you. Believe what you want to. These agents are not dumb. These agents are not dumb, and they're going to be out here talking. These agents are going to be out here talking. And we got to stop this, oh, he wants to be a Cowboy, but he also has earned a paycheck. That's all I'm telling you. 2 things can be true. He's earned a paycheck. Whether we like it or not, he's earned a paycheck. And we got to stop thinking that, oh, if he goes somewhere else and chases the bag, then he chasing the money and he don't want to win. So hold on a second. So somebody explain this to me. hypothetically speaking. If George Pickens went to the San Francisco 49ers, if George Pickens went to the San Francisco 49ers and got paid. So somebody's telling me that means that George Pickens don't want to win. Is somebody telling me? Is somebody having the nerve to tell me that if George Pickens took the money and went to the San Francisco 49ers, you're telling me that means that George Pickens is chasing the money and he don't want to win? When we know doggone well, how many Super Bowls have we seen the San Francisco 49ers in? Kyle Shanahan should have got Coach of the Year this year with all the injuries that he had, and he still went to the playoffs. So we're telling me that the 49ers is not a winning organization over the last 6 to 7 years. If he decided to get the money and go to the Buffalo Bills, is he chasing the money or is he chasing the Super Bowl and the money? Because the Buffalo Bills, how many times have they been in the playoffs? How many times have they been in AFC championship games over the last 10 seasons? We're saying stuff like this guy's chasing money and this guy's not chasing money. This man is wanting to get paid what he earned. And if he don't want to stay with the Cowboys and play on a franchise tag, he's not chasing the money. He's just trying to do what any one of us would do if we had that ability. We're going to secure our future. We're speaking from the perspective of Cowboys fans. This is George Pickens' life. I'm sorry. It's George Pickens' life. It's George Pickens' life we're talking about. True Texan, I appreciate the super chat. True Texan said if no offers on Pickens, he gets humble pie. Then what is he worth? One season does not make a career, period. Well, I can tell you this right now. They've already had this conversation with George Pickens. George Pickens' agent has already had this conversation with Pickens. I'm sure Pickens is prepared for all of this. Pickens is prepared for all of this. And I'm going to tell you this. I like the way GP is handling this. Don't say a word. Don't say a mumbling word. Let people do all the talking they want to. Don't you say a mumbling word. Because at the end of the day, it's all going to shake out. It's all going to shake out. I want George Pickens to be a Dallas Cowboy. But I'm sorry, I gotta look at this the other way too. But I also want George Pickens to do what's best for him. I do. I want George Pickens to do what's best for him too. Because it is shameful to me. It is shameful to me that this young man has done everything he needed to do to get himself to this point, only for people to talk this young man down every which way they can. He's not worth this. He's not worth that. And he ought to be happy that he gets to play on a $28 million tag. What? This is crazy work for me. It's crazy work. I understand the football business, but that doesn't stop me from being somebody. That doesn't stop me from being a man. That doesn't stop me from being a man. And understanding that this young man has earned his right to be in this situation. And I understand where the Cowboys are. I know what they're doing. I don't think this is so much about GP as it is about these agents. But I'm telling you now, man, I got a strange feeling. I got a strange feeling. I got a strange feeling with this George Pickens thing, and I could be totally wrong. A feeling don't make me right. I'm not going to be surprised if somebody tries to come at the Cowboys, because I just showed you what I'm explaining to you. Winning teams aren't as concerned about first-round picks as losing teams. Man, we're talking about teams that are not losing teams. They're not concerned about first-round picks. are they concerned for? Man, they're drafting at the back of the draft. They're not concerned about those first-round picks the way we are. They're not. I'm sorry, they're not. They're not worried about it. I'm sorry, they're not worried about it. Miss Major said, look at how they did Micah. They don't care about the before draft. I don't know what deadlines make those deals Jerry be talking about. Miss Major, it's crazy to me that people are saying, or Steven is saying, we're putting no timeline on this. Why wouldn't you put a timeline on it? Unless you are under the assumption that George is going to be here. And you have in your mind that if he doesn't get an offer, then you're going to come to him with an offer of $32 or $33 million. Okay, well, if that's what you're doing, okay, that's what you're doing. I see it. But if you're saying that you want this man to prove it one more year and to play on a tag, nah, man. Nah. That's tough. That's tough. That's tough. Derek Harris said if I was George, I would hold out. I think he is going to hold out. Not only do I think he's going to hold out, I just don't think he's going to play under that tag. Whether it be a phantom injury or what, I just don't think he's going to play under it. I don't think he's going to play under it. And actually, too, wet work, you think about this, it only hurts the Cowboys for him to play under a tag. It hurts them, too. That money comes directly off the tag. That money, it changes how you do your season. It changes how you do your season. And also, wet work, this is what this is telling me, too, if this is where we're going with these 2 first-round picks if someone were to happen to do this. Well, it also tells me that the Cowboys are saying that we're willing to wait another year to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, I want y'all to understand, man, Jerry is saying a lot of things happening at one time. I mean, Steven is saying a lot of things happening at one time. I just don't think this is a great situation. I think the Cowboys got to figure out a way to get a deal done. I do. Marcus Kidd said he is happy because he will know what he is worth by what the other teams will offer him, and now Dallas will know what his true value is. They have until July 15th to sign a deal. Marcus, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, man. And I hope you understand what I'm telling you, because I respect everything you're saying. You do know the Cowboys are banking on nobody coming forward. This is the cruel reality to what I'm telling you. If y'all don't think the Cowboys are banking on nobody coming forward, you're not listening to Stephen Jones. He's banking. He's absolutely banking on nobody coming forward. He's banking on it. Does Stephen Jones sound like to you somebody who's banking on other teams coming forward? Because everybody who you hear have this conversation, they're all saying the same thing. They're banking on nobody is going to approach the Cowboys to offer George Pickens a deal. So the issue becomes, does that mean that George Pickens' value isn't $32, $33, $34 million? Does that mean that? Or does that mean that teams just don't want to fool with the whole situation as people are saying? But in the grand scheme of things, while it may not prove what George is worth per se, it may give the Cowboys the additional leverage because nobody would even come forth and even deal with a $32 or $33 million deal. Because this puts David Mulugeta and George Pickens in another situation. So let me ask you this. So if nobody comes forth for George Pickens, so if you were the Cowboys, would you pay him $32 million a year? Would you pay him $32 million a year when you don't have to now? Now you could tell him, hey, man, you're actually worth $28 million a year. This is dirty business. And it's the part that you hate, but you got to deal with it, man. It's the football business. I understand it. It's the football business. Bottom line. You don't have to like it, but you still have to deal with it. It's the football business. So I still say the Cowboys, I see what they're doing, and I understand what they're doing. But I say this too. We all got to understand what comes along with this. And I don't like some of the things that they're saying, talking about they don't, there's no, hey, we're not putting a deadline on this. They should. They should want to get this done because you don't want this to get out of hand after the draft. You don't want this to get out of hand after the draft. You would rather get this all taken care of now. So you don't find yourself in the same situation you were with Michael Parsons last year. But I know what they're doing. I believe they are banking on nobody is going to come and offer anything for George Pickens. I really think that's their plan. Yep, Dak played on the tag. But understand that quarterback money different. Shoot, that quarterback that quarterback money different. Greeting TV said, "Gee, you sound scared and not understanding the business side to GP." Oh no, I understand the business. Oh no, I totally understand the business. That's why I'm giving us both of them. I understand the business, and even with GP, it's not even really personal. Even from GP side, we want to understand the business from the Cowboys side. I'm telling you also there is a side of this business from George Pickens' side too. George Pickens got to decide how he wants to proceed. But again, I think his representation, I don't think they're worried. I don't think they're worried in the least bit. I wouldn't be surprised if they already have people, probably they got already thinking that they're going to get somebody. Philadelphia should be a warning tale of listening to cancer talk. All season long, it was told AJ was the problem. Now it's reported Hurts has been now it's being reported that Hurts has been one to be alienating teammates, especially his key vets. I saw that. Reality Cowboy, I'm with you on this. I believe 4 years, $37 million, $103 million guaranteed, easy fix. And I don't even think you have to go that high on the guaranteed money. Okay, I got you, Derek Harris. Sorry about that, my brother. I see what you're saying. You talking about Stephen Jones sound like he doesn't want to sign GP. Got you. Yeah. Yes, sir. I got you. Reality Cowboy, I've been saying the same thing, man. Quarterbacks can do this stuff. Everybody else can't do this. Quarterbacks can do a whole lot of things that other players can't do. Rombowski said Mulugeto's the president of Athletes First. Any big deal with players they represent will go through him. Not that hard to figure out. Not to mention he's representing. All right.
Yes! Here we go!
Let's listen to Kyle Humans. He's going to talk a little bit about this, but I think he's going to talk about a whole bunch of different subject matters. But the thing with George Pickens,
Hey, it's Seamaster.
I'm not overly worried. I'm not overly worried about the situation with GP. I'm not overly worried about it. I think he's going to get paid by the Cowboys, but I don't think the Cowboys should be taking some of the chances that they're taking and just with the expectations that nobody's going to come at him and then just saying, well, if they do, then we'll just get 2 first-round picks. Man, you just can't do what they're talking about doing. Ron Hanna said, "G, taken from the office doesn't make sense when you're a top three free agent in the draft can fix the defense." Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Chanel said the deal will be done by March the 10th. Legal tampering start. I hope you're right. Because I don't think they need to let this thing go on to July. I don't think that makes sense. I do not think that makes sense. Derek Jones, you're right. I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Chanel, I'm with you. CD has already stated he's good with GP making more than him. He's already said this, man. He's already said this. But I understand what they're saying. I understand what they're doing. I'm not tripping so hard on what they're doing, but it's the thing with me that they're just basically banking on nobody's going to approach this thing that they got on George Pickens. I understand it's a smart move because I said that's probably what they were going to do. But it would be better for the Cowboys not to put George Pickens on a franchise and get that $28 million coming off the bottom of that salary cap. Man, extend this dude and get that money stretched out so you can get more players. All right, let's check out Kyle Humans.
He's right here on 105.3 The Fan, and right now, it's time for a special edition of the C Block starring Corey Majors and our special guest, Kyle Yeomans.
Kyle, how's it going, man?
It's great, guys. That sounded like you were harmonizing on the drop that time.
Dude, one of the things Kevin's always wanted to see inside of a barbershop is a quartet.
That would be awesome.
Maybe what we...
All right, Swall, let me tell you something funny. You said, mark my words, the billionaire owners in the NFL are going to find a way to rein in these agents, G. Too much money at stake. Man, I heard something the other day that is absolutely crazy. The WNBA, the agents are wanting to go in and negotiate the deal. Boy, I'm telling you, I said this a couple years ago. I think this is where these NFL agents want to do. They would love to go in and negotiate the CBA. They would love to do it. Can't let them do it. And again, I understand. I applaud the Joneses for what they're doing. They're trying to take all the power, or they're trying to take some of this power away from these agents. That's what they're doing. I get it. I don't think it's about George Pickens. I think it's about these agents, and I think they're tired. I think they're tired of getting beat by these agents. Yeah, Reality Cowboy said, I'm going to say it, he's our number one GP. Kevin Ellis, what's going on? Hey, Kevin Ellis, I'm telling you, bro, I believe this is one of the main issues with these people. They're mad they were wrong about George Pickens. I think it's one of their main issues. They will not admit they were wrong. They were wrong. 100%. They were wrong about George Pickens. They were wrong. Rico Jones, you said, what should we pay GP? You know, the funny thing is, I don't know. I thought it would be somewhere between 34 and 37. But I think the Cowboys are trying to pull a power move, as in this part right here, that if nobody comes to say what they will pay GP, then they're going to pay GP whatever they want to either make him play on the tag. That's what they're going to. I think that's what this is. Rombowski said if GP plays on the tag, then gets hurt, he's lost all contract negotiation power into 27. As a result, he'll despise the Cowboys, and all of the players see it happen. And remember, it meaning top free agency will stay away. Yep, I mentioned this in the video. I'm telling you, I mentioned this in the video because we got to understand the NFL is watching this. And there are other players watching this like, wow, this is crazy. I'm telling you. Ron Hanna said the media hates on George because the media, believe it or not, love the Steelers, and all his slander is coming from his time in Pittsburgh. They're always going back to Pittsburgh. But I also think some of this is the Cowboys. I don't think some of these people want the Cowboys to do well. I don't think they want the Cowboys to do well. I don't think they want the Cowboys to do well. All right, let's check this out.
Can start doing is practicing our Kyle Yeomans in harmony so that next time we can become a barbershop quartet.
That sounds good to me. Next time I'm on, I will say it with you. I got you. Yeomans. Yeah. Do I need the high part or do I need like the base level?
We'll send you a text about it and try and figure it out.
We'll kind of set it all aside. We
don't want to use this time right now.
You always yell at us. You're like, this sounds like an off-air conversation, guys. Let's get back on track. So
that does sound like me.
What would Kevin do? I'm always trying to do.
We're just friends catching up. That's what fan radio is, right? I mean, we're all friends talking sports.
Sometimes I could definitely see that.
As a matter of fact, Kyle, to stay with the we're just goofing off conversation here.
Love it.
I was playing some Warzone the other night, and my buddy, who's a Tolo, he was like, I used to play with Yeomans all the time. I don't know what happened. I was like, well, he has triplets now.
Yeah.
So
that's the easy answer to that question is I got married and had triplets pretty quick. So that
pay him and we get 2 first-round picks out of that?
Yeah, it's never happened, and I don't anticipate that happening here.
I know.
But, the whole scenario it's really interesting because it just feels like, and we anticipated the tag, right? I mean, everybody here kind of talked about that, and it was going to be a franchise tag. Now, the non-exclusive side to it just feels like a negotiation tactic on the Cowboys side to not just create a little bit of leverage, but really just to make sure that the number is more accessible, right? Because that's the number one thing that I think is is providing a gap between the Cowboys and the George Pickens representation is Pickens is looking at it saying, I was one of the best receivers in the NFL last year. I did it in the 1 year that I was in Dallas. This is why I should be valued at X, where the Cowboys are looking at it and saying, yeah, you did, but part of why you had that success was being in Dallas. The league doesn't necessarily see you as this level of value in your own right. So allowing him to try and find the correct value of a league-wide representation by asking other teams and at least looking through some of these contracts, it really is an interesting chess move by Dallas to say, and it's not. I don't think it's a negative chess move. It's not an insult to anybody or what the numbers would possibly be. But I think it gives them a clearer picture of where the negotiations need to be compared to his in-house value and his league-wide value at the wide receiver position.
And Kevin, it doesn't allow the Cowboys to outbid themselves.
Yeah, that's also fair.
In A-Rod,
what are they, the Rangers? Yeah. Okay, so Kyle, I understand what the deadline dates are, but I've just been saying this all along. I realize the deadline to get the long-term deal done is July 15th. I feel this with every part of who I am. I think the deadline needs to be March 9th because
there are not many times I agree with this guy. Did I not just say the same thing? Stephen Jones' approach to this isn't right. Get the deal done early. Don't let this hover over this team. Man, a lot can happen between now and July the 15th. A whole lot of bad can happen between now and July 15th. If I'm the Cowboys, this goes 1 week. I'm going to give every single team 1 week to come in, or whatever this is, that this can begin. I'm going to give them that 1 week time frame, and after that, the deal is done. I'm going to have George Pickens' deal on the table. Here it is. If nobody offers, I'm somewhere around 32, 33, possibly 34, 35. I'm going to have that deal drawn up, ready to go, done. I 100% agree with this. This needs to be sooner than later. Sooner than later.
If you're going to get a long-term deal done, potentially save $10-ish million, depending on what that long-term deal looks like. But I don't get that sense of urgency from the Cowboys at all. Do you?
I don't know if it's a public sense of urgency, but they know that there's urgency in the negotiation side of things. And I know there's been a lot of talk this week for the Brandon Aubrey situation and some of these other contracts, and they get Javonte Williams done. But Pickens is the number one name that has been talked about among inside circles and outside circles, I think, with Dallas. So when you talk about a lack of urgency, I don't think I would put them in that fold. I tend to agree with you. I think if you get the deal done the right way, then it allows you to maneuver the cap situation to actually be aggressive the way that you want to be in free agency, or at least the way that they've insinuated that they want to be, where I think the secondary deadline is the draft. so that way you at least know going into night one of the draft, is wide receiver a question mark or is it not?
Right.
Is
Another issue. Another issue. And I don't know, maybe these are just negotiation tactics once again. There is no way Steven should be willing to take this beyond the draft. This is a mistake if they let this go on. The moment you know no one's coming forward with a deal, get a deal done. Don't take this up to the draft even. Get this thing done in March. Get Brandon Aubrey done and let this stuff go, man. You don't need to let this be hovering over the franchise.
Is what's your draft capital going to look like, and what would you get in return if you do have to indeed move on from George Pickens? And I don't think that's exactly what they want to do. They want to sign him. They want to have the urgency to get it done. March 9th is that first deadline. The draft is the second one. I don't think anybody's looking at July 15th right now, and that's why I think there is a level of urgency among the front office to at least get some level of negotiation done sooner rather than later.
This might sound like an odd question, but I've become very fascinated by it. Would you rather no other team comes around on TJ Bass and Brandon Aubrey, or would you rather both of them get picked off in exchange for those second-round picks?
Oh, man. That's a great question.
Thank you.
And I think I've kind of gone back and forth on it, because a second-round pick for a guy like TJ Bass would be incredible value for Dallas. Incredible value. I mean, this is a guy.
Marvin Mays, you said a great point. If it was a placeholder, it should be restricted. But the Cowboys are smart. They want that unrestricted, Marvin Mays, because this is going to allow the Cowboys to get that deal to be even lower. I know exactly what the Cowboys are doing. I understand the business. They're trying to get this money at a certain point. They want to get this money at a certain point. I believe the Cowboys have a certain number they want to get George Pickens at. And so if nobody comes forward, I think they're going to get him at whatever that price is. I think they're going to get him at that price, whatever that price is. And I believe what that price will probably be, I will not be surprised if it's right up under CeeDee Lamb. Like maybe $32, $33 million, $65 million guaranteed, 3-year deal. I think that's what they're doing. I can see the power move, but they can't. I say also at the same time, if that's the move, let it be the move. But waiting to July is crazy work. Steven said we're not going to put no time limit on it. Okay, that's good to tell us, but I hope you put a time limit on it.
That is a valuable offensive lineman, just in the fact that he can play nearly every position on the offensive line, and he's capable enough of a guy that he could be a starter anywhere else in the league, depending on what their situations are too. So there's value in that. However, a second-round pick for a guy that you picked up as an undrafted free agent who's not necessarily a frontline starter for you either, I don't think you can be upset about that.
See, this is where I'm still saying, like, when they say stuff like this, TJ Bass, if you look at it from this perspective of where you got him versus what you're getting, okay, that's a good value. Same thing with George Pickens. You gave up a 3rd-round pick. Let's say you could possibly get 2 first-round picks. You're elated. But the problem becomes, but you don't know if that 2nd-round player is going to be better than TJ Bass. You don't know if those 2 first-round picks are going to be better than George Pickens. You don't know how you're going to replace George Pickens. You don't know how you're going to replace TJ Bass. And so that addition by subtraction, when you get players that are proven, a bird in the hand beats a bird in the bush. I don't want the bird in the bush. I want the proven players. I want to find a way to keep the proven players, because the thing that people don't give the Seattle Seahawks enough credit for, the thing that the Seattle Seahawks did very well was draft. They drafted very well. They drafted very well. Then they were able to add the complementary pieces in free agency. And so the Cowboys, I think they draft pretty good. They've been having some misses under Mike McCarthy. But in the grand scheme of things, when you think about a guy like TJ Bass, man, the reality is, man, I just think a player like TJ Bass pays dividends. because you just never know when you're going to have to use him this year. I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't want to get rid of TJ Bass, not knowing kind of what I'm going to do as far as Tyler Guyton goes and not knowing what kind of adjustments I have to make. And then you might lose probably lose Brock Hoffman too. Oh my gosh. I'm just not all about getting these picks in the place of players that are doing extremely well.
Brandon Aubrey on the other side, I mean, he's been such a weapon, and it's so
Not to
impressive
mention
what he's
Brandon
done
Aubrey.
in such a short amount of time in the NFL. But you're also looking around the league and saying kickers, and this is not a knock against Brandon Aubrey, but kickers that kick 60-yard field goals aren't necessarily unicorns anymore. There are a lot of them around the league that are starting to step up. Doesn't mean you can just say so long to Brandon Aubrey and go pick up somebody and they're going to be incredible. There's going to be a lot of work to be done there. And for a lack of a better term, you're going to have to get lucky again in picking up a kicker. So I think I'd be harder pressed to see it happen for Aubrey than it would be for TJ Bass. But either way, I still think Dallas wants those guys to be a part of their team because they hold valuable roles in each of their specific ways.
Yes.
I know having Brandon Aubrey as a weapon is awesome, and I appreciate it. Just this past year, did you ever feel like maybe Shoddy fell back on him a little bit too much in games where you're like, I don't know if field goals are going to win this game, man?
Sure. Yeah, I think especially in the middle parts of the year that happened, where if you cross the 50-yard line, we've got points, right? And I think there were a couple times where he may even have admitted this. I can't remember if it was in conversation or if it was in a press conference setting, but I think he even admitted it, that the play calling element maybe took their foot off the gas a little in those situations because they would rather end up with points early in the game than either lose the field position battle or make a significant mistake and then come up empty in their own right. So I think they did fall back on that a little. But I also think football is such an interesting game that if you mess up twice in a row, you're in a tough spot regardless. And then having a guy there that can still help bail you out with points when you do get past the 50-yard line, it's just an incredible weapon. And he does it better than even the guys that I was mentioning earlier. So it's going to continue to be that's going to be something that Shoddy has to grow on from year one to year two as a play caller. Not relying on it, but still making sure that it's something in the arsenal.
Christian Parker is just a fascinating person to, I think, all of us right now, and we still know so little about him too, but we're all trying to learn.
I'll be honest with you. I think Stephen Jones talked more positive about Brandon Aubrey than he did George Pickens as far as the deal getting done. Because Stephen Jones was saying, I believe we can get a deal done with Brandon Aubrey, and we're still working toward that. I'm not going to be surprised if Brandon Aubrey and both of these guys get extended. I'm still holding out hope. They both get extended somewhere around March the 10th. I'm still holding out hope on this.
And get as much as we can from him. And I got to hear him this morning with Sean and RJ and Bobby and Broadus. That show just keeps getting bigger. But I got to listen to him a little bit. After hearing him talk as many times as you have so far and all the study you're doing with the draft, do you feel like you have a little better understanding of the type of players you need to hone in on?
Yeah, we're getting there. I think this week has provided a little more clarity in that, and part of that clarity is that the guys that we thought were just perfect fits might not even be there for Dallas.
Caleb Downs,
Sonny Styles.
Sonny Styles. I mean, those are the two guys that, like, if I had to put a guess down today that one of those guys would be available at 12, I think if they could pick them both, they would have. But I don't know if either one of those guys is making it outside the top 8 now.
I've already gone and told everybody Caleb Downs is not going to be there. Go ahead and move on, everybody.
Yeah, I think you can start saying the same thing. You can say the same thing for Styles now. After what he did yesterday and kind of the buzz around him this week and really where he's been going, I think those are two guys that you just can't bank on them being there. If they end up being there and it's a incredible CeeDee Lamb type situation, and that's even better than I think CeeDee Lamb because it fits a need more so than CeeDee did in that draft in 2020. I mean, that's one where you're doing backflips and you're running half marathons to the star and back to make it happen. when it comes to Christian Parker, and you talked about knowing so little about it, I think part of this week has been gathering information on the way that he wants to build this 3-4 base scheme, even though it's got multiple look and a multiple element to it. What's the value in the 4-eye position? What's the value in a couple of these other spots at the 3-4 that you haven't had to think about in the past? And with that being said, I think linebacker plays a big role. I think safety over the top plays a big role. Maybe a guy like Dylan Thieneman, who is the safety out of Oregon, who's rangy and smart and physical. He kind of checks a lot of those boxes.
Jacob Rodriguez.
Yeah. Hey, he had a great day yesterday, too.
Did.
Maybe he's now in that conversation at 20, and there's players that fit the mold, but we're still trying to figure out exactly what that mold is. And it's also fun.
Corner and linebacker, I believe, in the first and number 1 and number 20. I believe the Cowboys are going to get the edge rusher in free agency.
Because he's a celebrity. Christian Parker is out here. I mean, everybody that I've seen, anytime I've seen him, he is in a conversation with somebody new. I mean, he is a well-respected individual. And I think the more that I've seen and gotten to know him and really what the vision is for this team, the more I've been impressed.
Well, we're like the Cassius Howells, these David Baileys. We've gotten these opportunities to kind of see what they're doing the rest of this weekend. Who are you like, I can't wait to see what they do, and whether it's 40 time or whatever?
Well, I think one guy tonight is the LSU corner, Mansour Delane. He really needs to run kind of a 4-5 and under to kind of cement his spot. Oh, he's not going to run, I'm being told by Brian Broaddus across the table from me. So that's disappointing. I was looking forward to that 40 time.
Man, that is disappointing.
And maybe that's a smart decision for him, because he needs to hit a number to kind of take away some of that straight line speed question marks in his tape, but he's got some great tape. And I still think he's a first-round caliber corner, and maybe it's a 12, maybe it's a 20. He's kind of in that middle ground in between the two, which means Dallas is a possible landing spot in both scenarios. So that was one guy I was excited about, but he's not going to end up running apparently. So I'm trying to think of any of the other. Maybe it's just as a football fan, I'm excited to see some of these running backs go. I know Dallas isn't necessarily looking at running back unless they really fall in love with somebody.
What if Jeremiah Love was there at 12?
Man, it's a conversation. I think you can't discount it.
If Jeremiah Love is there at 12, man, I don't care if you just signed Tony Dorsett reincarnated. You got to get Jeremiah Love, man. I've been hearing people say Jeremiah Love is the best player in the draft.
I mean, I hate to even say there's no way that he falls to 20, but if he's there at 12, which I still think is out of the realm of possibility, you got to at least have that conversation, because Javonte Williams was great for you. You signed him to the 3-year deal. Some of those numbers on his contract came out today and were talked about today. But
we talked about him a couple days ago, though.
Yeah, we had already broken it down.
Yeah, good job on your side of things. But if you're looking to the future and another playmaker that you could add to this offense, he would be the one guy there you would consider. I really like Emmett Johnson out of Nebraska too. Another guy that you could kind of look at as a burner. He's going to be fun to compete with. They don't start until the weekend with some of those position player guys. But, lots of prospects coming up that I'm excited to watch.
Was there ever a time in your life, when you were younger, that you would have been considered a burner?
No, I was never that guy. They always put me in like the 5 spot in basketball. I played first base and baseball and pitched, so I didn't have to run a whole lot. Like that was my thing. I was a blocking tight end.
All right, that was Kyle Humans. He had some good things to say, but overall, again, I see some of the comments. I'm kind of catching up down here at the bottom, and I saw what Chosen One said. But I'm telling us, man, when you start thinking about, I understand the game the Cowboys are playing. I fully understand the game. But when you start talking about teams that, you say, Oh, no team is going to give up 2 first-round draft picks. I just say never say never. Chosen One said it, and I think a couple other people mentioned it. All it takes is one team. All it takes is one team to make an offer. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. Just takes one team. One team. And you right back in you're in a tight situation. One team is all it takes. Because once you get because a lot of people don't understand, you think about going to a trial. Man, you don't have to convince all 12 jurors per se. All you need is convince one. If you can convince one. So I'm telling you, all it takes is one player. One team to come forward and say, I'll be your Huckleberry. It's only take one team. I'll be your Huckleberry. I'll call you on them 2 first-round picks. I'll take them and give them $36 million. It only takes one team. Especially a team that believes all we need is a couple of players. Man, I don't even want to imagine what George Pickens would do for the San Francisco 49ers. I don't even want to imagine that. Man, you want to talk about would be a problem. Whew. Boy, it would be a problem. It really would. It'd be a problem. Absolute problem. But again, I love the Cowboys. I hope this plan they have works out because I know what this plan is. This plan is to solidify a number. This plan is to solidify a number of what GP can't get paid. I know what this is all about. You want to tell GP he's not worth 36, 37, 35. You want to get him probably somewhere in the $30 to $32 million range. I think that's what the Cowboys are doing. I understand it. I just hope they don't try to go down this road of playing George Pickens on the tag. Because while we say you give him a 1-year trial, you're still getting that $28 million coming right off of your cap. And that still affects how you do business as far as you're going to be able to get other players. If you're going to sign GP, sign him to a 3-year deal, and then let this thing be done. But we're going to see. We're going to see. And I've already said, I don't think GP can make the argument, just like I don't think that Jackson Smith and Jigba, I don't think they can make the argument that they should be the highest paid per se. Because when you go back and look at those numbers that those other guys put up, man, they put up some serious numbers over an extended period of time. But I see what the Cowboys are doing. They just want to get George Pickens at a certain spot. I think they want to get him in a certain spot. Poobie D says, sound like the same thing Michael Parsons was thinking about, just like you said, G. Man, I'm telling you, Poobie D. Man, people, when they look at this stuff, man, they're not looking at this stuff like, I know people say, oh, man, $28 million. Man, when you know you're worth $70 million guaranteed, man, you're not stepping on that field. Or you're going to try to figure out ways not to. Freddie Johnson says, Steven better have a timeline. I'm hoping this week after next. I'm hoping this week after next. Ron Bosky said the NFL just told teams they got a $22 million increase in the salary cap for 26. That means they know they got more breathing room to take care of upcoming rookie deals and free agents while taking on a new George Pickens deal. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Matter of fact, I got that pulled up right here. I had it in my notes today. Salary cap per club, 2026, $301 million, $301 million, 200,000. However you say it. NFL is making moolah money. up $22 million from last year. NFL making money, man. Making money. There's a part of your Brandon Aubrey and George Pickens money right there. There's your money. There it is. And it's going to go up again next year. It's going to go up again next year. No doubt about it. It's going up again next year. Cowboy hater, I think where the Cowboys are on this Cowboys hater, good to see you tonight. Cowboy hater, I think where they are. At least I hope where they are. I think the Cowboys are trying to solidify a number. I think they're trying to solidify a number. Rodney said, "Gee, give him $34 million. If you tag him twice, it's like 60 years, like $30 million. So give him $34 million." Yeah, I would give him about $34 million. Because the problem when you start talking about playing under those tags, that money comes directly off the doggone. That comes directly off. And that is not where you want. That is not where you want that money. Let me see. Cowboys hater herder. I got the tag numbers too. I see you just mentioned that. So let me pull up the tag numbers. Here's the tag numbers. The non-exclusive tag numbers. Wide receivers, $27,298,000. That is the money for the wide receivers. Look at that quarterback money. Jeez. That quarterback money, crazy. $43 million for one season? Wow. Man, them quarterbacks is different, man. Them quarterbacks is different. I mean, look at the non-exclusive for the kicker. $6.6 million. That's why Brandon Aubrey is probably wanting around $8 million. So those are the numbers right there. But I think the Cowboys, I understand what they're doing. I think they're trying to figure out how can they get George Pickens in that number where they want him, because the Cowboys don't want to touch that $40 million. They don't want to touch that $40 million number. But I'm just going to tell you, man, there are some teams out there, when y'all think we're desperate for Super Bowls, there are other teams out there that are desperate for Super Bowls too. And some of those may think they're just one player away. And I'm telling you, it only takes one. It only takes one person to come up and say, hey, we think this guy could be the difference in us going to a bowl game. And as hard as it's been for some of these teams, Buffalo, they've sucked at getting a wide receiver. You think about the issue Philadelphia's in, they might trade away A.J. Brown. They may want a guy like him. El Chuco in the crib. Demetrius Noel, we're going to see. We're going to see if this is all just a plan. We're going to see if this is all just a plan to get George Pickens at a certain number, and then they sign him the week after next or extend him the week after next. We're going to see. We're going to see if that's what this is. Catherine Kidd said, if it was me, I would have signed him along with Aubrey. Get it over with, just drama and a headache. Yeah, that's why I don't like the fact that Steven said there's no timeline. But I hope it is a timeline. I really do. I hope it's a timeline. I don't want the Cowboys to try to take this. I mean, again, this team, it just deserves a quiet, boring offseason. It's just every year it's something. And I guarantee you, they're just right now saying, okay, here we go again. I hope that's not how we finish. All right, let's check out this before we get out of here tonight. Let's check out Christian Parker. Man, I agree with what they're saying. Man, this dude, Christian Parker, man, he is a bona fide superstar in this league right now, isn't he? Cowboys better get this man the players, because the way people are talking about him, we going to the Super Bowl.
Here on 105 through the Fan, Brian Broaddus is very embarrassed.
Let me spell you. Come here.
He's got great cologne.
You know what? It's kind of.
I think it's lotion. I think it's more lotion and not cologne. Christian Parker.
No, I'm not a scented lotion guy. I'm a cologne guy.
Yeah. Do you know what that is?
See, you missed it. You missed it.
That's got a hint of Mandalay Bay Casino.
Smells good.
I like it.
Good morning, Coach.
Hey,
Come on, man. Reveal what that cologne is, like Voch Lombardi, like Voch Lombardi does. Tell us what the cologne is, bro.
how doing?
We're doing well.
Good.
Thank you for sitting down with us. Bobby said, everyone's trying to go out and about and social scene, and he was at a place the other night, and he said, when you walked in the room, you had the aura. And the room was looking at Christian Parker. Bobby, did you feel it?
He just commands it. Everybody knows Christian Parker, it looks like. They're like, oh, CP, they're all dapping him up. It's very, very popular man around town.
Yeah, kind of got to lay low a little bit right now this week. It's been a lot, but it's good to see everybody. It's really the only time you get to see everybody around the league in one location. So it's been cool.
Yeah, Frank Lawrence. I see what you're saying. I think the Cowboys, what they're doing, they're just basically saying we're not going to be at the mercy of these agents anymore. And so they're using that non-exclusive tag. I get what they're doing. I get what they're doing. My only issue is I think they're banking extremely strong. And maybe they're right in banking on this. But they are banking extremely strong, Frank Lawrence, that nobody's going to offer George Pickens. I think that's what they're banking on. I mean, you could tell by the way that everybody's talking about this. Oh, yeah, nobody's going to give up 2 first-round picks. So, if nobody gives up 2 first-round picks, I believe the Cowboys probably already have a number they want to pay George Pickens, probably around 31, 32, 33, and they're going to present that deal, and I hope that's what they do. I hope they present that deal around March the 10th. Present that deal. Frank said, the more I learn about being an NFL GM and contract negotiations and the salary cap, the less these moves by the Joneses make me think they want to win a Super Bowl. Yeah. I think they want to, but again, I think they want to do it their way, and I think they're trying to go about it smart. But I still say the Cowboys, man, they're really banking on it. I hope they're right. I know what they're doing. They're banking on nobody offering George Pickens nothing. And if nobody offers George Pickens nothing, then they're going to be able to offer him what they want him to have. Bass said, nope, they're not worried about this. The Cowboys always telegraph their moves loudly. They said from the jump they were leaning towards the tag. The agency knew. Now they're operating to get Pickens out like Michael Watch. I hope not. But that's the one place I want to say that I was kind of like scratching my head on. It seemed like the Cowboys kind of said, we're not even going to sit down, because Calvin Watkins reported this. Like they were not even going to sit down and have a serious conversation. They were just going to let the market determine. Basically, they're just going to let the market determine what GP is worth so they could basically take that to him and his agent. It seemed like that's what they were doing. Jeremy Betts, I agree with you. I don't think this is about George Pickens. This is about athletes first. They are trying to figure out ways to stop these agents from strong-arming these teams. I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised in the next collective bargaining agreement that they're going to put in. I will not be surprised, Jeremy Betts, if they put in more mechanisms like these non-exclusive tags to stop these agents from getting all of this grand theft money. They're going to start putting in more mechanisms like this, and this may be the first time we really see it used in such a very strong manner, that they're going to use these things against these agents to say, I don't care what you say this player is worth. The market says this is what this player is worth. So we're not giving the player $100 zillion no more. Now we're going to pay him what we want to. I think this is what they're doing with George Pickens. I think this is exactly what they're doing. I get what they're doing, and I hope they don't try to make GP play on the tag. Not only for his sake, but for our sake too. We don't need $27 basically $28 million coming right off the bottom of that cap, knowing we need to sign more players.
I got Cowboy fans.
Demetrius Noel, you talking Bible. You're exactly right. The enemy uses your past to trip you up and cast doubt. No doubt.
Very angry at me on night one. I want to see if you support this move. I took a selfie with Big Dom, and I posted it, and it backfired.
Yeah, I mean, that's my guy.
What does he do?
He does it all.
He does it all.
Yeah,
See, to me, he was like the white whale around here. I want to interview him. I don't care about besides you. I don't care about anyone else. I want to hear Big Dom's voice. I want to know what he does because he's like the fixer. He's like a mythical character to me. What does he do?
Literally everything. I mean, from helping players in the building to out of the building to families. He's security, escorts, like, you call him at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, like he's available. Great dude. He really wants to lay low key. He doesn't like being out too much, but he's the best I've been around in terms of just managing everything for the organization.
Does he have like an endless supply of Fila suits? Is that Fila?
Well, he mixes them up. So I've seen Puma, I've seen Fila, I've seen Nike, I've seen the team issue. Because you still got to wear the logo when you're at work. So he has a couple different ones. People used to joke about, because I wear a lot of tracksuits too. So I don't wear Fila. I'm a little too young for that. But I did back in the day.
I understand. As an older guy, I understand what he's saying.
Leave Fila alone, man.
Today?
There's low 11s, Concords.
Okay.
So
how many shoes do you have? This is what Shotty said. You got the shoe game.
Yeah, it's close to 400. Yeah.
400 pairs of shoes?
Close to 400. Yeah.
Gosh.
That's my thing. If it wasn't for football, I'd probably be doing something with kicks.
So how many?
You don't know Nico, do you? Nico Harrison?
No.
Okay,
No.
good.
I know his affiliation with Kobe though.
Oh my! 400 pairs of shoes? What? Man, I like Jordans, but 400 pair? Wow. Wow. Big Boss Dog said the talking heads are like a prosecutor who won a case and it was overturned and can't accept that it was wrong. I agree. I think a lot of these people just can't admit they were wrong about GP. Just can't admit it. Ron Henderson said, I'm praying we get him signed with the ability to negotiate with other teams. To me, is a low-key dangerous, especially if we don't play our hand right. Ron Henderson, that's all I've been saying. I'm just saying, everybody's saying that there's no way that it happens, but it only takes one team. It only takes one team to do it. And with the way some of these teams want to win the Super Bowl right now, man, I wouldn't put it past the team to do it. Newhouse fam said the Cowboys want Pickens, but they're not tripping about losing them because they will receive 2 first-round picks. So either way they win, so it's a smart move, but they would have to hit on the picks. And there it is, Newhouse fam. A bird in the hand beats a bird in the bush. Because then you got to hit on those picks. And how long does it take those picks to develop depending upon the position that you get? George Pickens puts the Cowboys in a position to win right now. If you start talking about 2 picks for him, a pick for Brandon Aubrey, a pick for TJ Bass, I think you're talking about another year. I think you're basically going back another year. Brandon Cupp said another way to look at it is George ain't running and saying sign me no matter what. Do we know what George thinks? Brandon, I really think George isn't tripping because I think he trusts his representation. And I'm just telling you because if I wasn't, being an agent is like being a lawyer. Being an agent is like being a lawyer. You got to know every move that the team is going to make. This is no surprise to David Mulugeta. He is not. David Mulugeta and Athletes First, they're not tripping on this tactic. They understand it. I'm sure they anticipated it. If I was David Mulugheta, I would be telling George Pickens, no sweat. I know what they're doing. They want to get a certain number. If they haven't already presented that number. They want to get a certain number. If nobody offers, this is probably where we're going to be. Because I'm sure David Mulugheta knows what this is. David Mulugheta's probably like, okay, if you get no offers, we're going to probably be somewhere between 31, 33, maybe between 31 and 35. You get a couple offers, then we're just going to ride it out and see where it goes. This is probably what David Mulugheta is telling him, because you got to be like a lawyer. You got to be thinking 2 and 3 steps ahead. You do. So I don't think this is no big deal for them. But, man, Steven, you can tell how Steven is talking, boy. Shoot. Boy, Steven is smiling like a Cheshire cat, man. He's smiling like a Cheshire cat because he thinks this is, I'm telling you, Steven understands what this move is, and Steven is looking at this move like checkmate. Now it just boils down to, does anybody come and offer George Pickens a deal? Because if somebody comes and offers George Pickens a deal, I believe all hell gonna break loose. I really do. I really do. I think all hell gonna break loose if somebody offers George Pickens a deal. Because I'm telling you right now, don't let nobody fool you into thinking that it's no big deal if George Pickens walk and we're gonna get 2 first-round picks. Man, all things are relative. You mess around this dude, get in the conference, shoot, it'd be number problems.
Yes.
Did you see the Kobe story the other day, the Mamba story?
I did not. I saw it. Something popped up on YouTube about it, but I didn't watch it. I know the story, though, the origin of it with Michael Jordan turning it down, and then it kind of pivoted.
Oh, you knew that?
Yeah,
I never heard that. So the Black Mamba campaign was for MJ. So even my guy Kobe copied that.
Oh.
He couldn't even have that as it was built for Michael. Michael has my level fear of snakes.
Right.
About his Steve's.
So it was before Air Jordan. They were going to call him the Mamba.
No. He was. This is bad. I think it might have been 2002 or something like that. But they were kind of building that campaign. They used to call Michael Jordan the Black Cat. So they have a Black Cat pair of Jordan 4s that are just all black. Mm-hmm. And kind of like one of his like alter ego logos is like this like panther. If you go to Grove 23's golf course in Florida, it kind of has a big one and everything there.
Very impressive, Coach.
I went there. I did not play. I'm not a big golf guy. But I do have some Jordan golf shoes.
Yeah.
But I don't play golf.
They're supposed to be the most comfortable ones.
What's your top 2 most, and then these guys are going to take over football. What's your top 2 most prized shoes? Top 2.
I have an original pair of the Jordan 1 Breads from 1985, unworn. Those are saran wrapped, whole deal. That's my baby right there. I mean, those shoes are 6 years older than me. They have not touched any form of pavement or anything else like that. I would say second are probably the Yeezy Red Octobers.
Man, I'm telling you, Bread ones, man, those are my shoes. I gotta, even though I don't have none, I never hit on them. But boy, those are my shoes. I may have to go to StockX and get me a pair, but they just so doggone, they're just so doggone expensive.
See them progressing through things, eye discipline, communication. During the down, you see those wheels turning almost, but it's not slowing them down. So when you say somebody's brain works, you can just watch the tape and know that they're a very cerebral player with instincts.
You know, when you say that term, you think about somebody who's a good mental processor. Who's somebody that over the time that you've coached guys since you've been in the league that you say, that's an example of, like, I like guys who play like he does or who process and read like he does?
Yeah, I would say when I was in Green Bay, Tramon Williams was probably the first one I was around in the DB room. You know, he was so experienced. So we had him at nickel, and Tramon had seen every route concept in the world by then. So when 2 went out, he knew 1 was going quick. When 3 blocked, he knew the route was going 12 plus. Like a lot of those different intricacies of route detail, some of them I learned from him when I was actually in Green Bay as quality control. And then I would say at corner, Pat Surtain just, it's like things move in slow motion for him when he starts seeing things develop. He's never in a hurry, but you can.
Ron Bosky, I'm like you. I mean, I like the combine and everything, but at the end of the day, if you don't know what a guy is before he gets to the combine, you ain't doing your homework. You should already know what those guys are. Grade a player by his film on the film, because if he can't produce in college, then I doubt he's going to produce in the NFL. Facts.
Tell that the wheels are turning. and Justin Simmons and Kareem Jackson, both of them at safety, just had a really good feel for that, especially a good feel off of each other. Their chemistry was significant. And then, to Philly the past 2 years, Cooper DeJean's probably the fastest processor I've coached. Once something happens, his feet and his brain are connected. He can just react and go get it, and his confidence is precise. He just knows what he's looking at. So you can tell him something Tuesday during the week or whatever, he goes and finds it. So
what about Nakobe Dean?
Oh, Nakobe Dean, he's a very quick processor as well. He does a lot of work in the film room during the week, so those things trigger fast for him too.
When you start to, we're trying to kind of pin down your scheme or what you're going to do. What if you were to just explain it in like layman's terms to like our audience? How would you describe what you're trying to do in a way that's going to pertain with the players they currently have on the roster?
Well, I mean, I think by structure, in a 3-4 structure in base with 4 defensive backs, but typically you're in nickel, right? So it's 4-2-5 essentially.
Okay.
Up front, you want to be in more of an attack and react style. So what I mean by that is the attack front is kind of known as you're flying up the field, everybody's hot in the gap, single gap fits on the second and third level. So you can create disruption, but sometimes you create vertical seams, in my opinion.
Okay.
So we're more of the create knockback up front, resetting the line of scrimmage, but squeezing blocks at the point of attack. So guys have to be able to play with their hands, their feet, and their eyes, essentially, to do that.
So is that so when you're looking at, say, your front seven, you're talking about playing, and you're playing attack, do you play, is it downhill with your linebackers, or are they more of a?
Well, they have to play more downhill than flow stack and tracking the ball. I think when you can play the attack front on the D-line perspective, you can go with quicker, faster guys. They don't have to grind blocks as much. They don't have to hold double teams because they're jetting up the field.
Right.
Which means that your linebackers, there still is an element because they have to play, play action pass. Usually those fronts are associated with true spot drop zone coverage.
Okay.
You think about like San Francisco, for example, the things that Fred Warner does in space and things like that. But when you do it that way, sometimes with certain run schemes and certain things like that, I just feel like there's a space. So if somebody gets kicked out, then things can wind back. And you have to, like, the resources, those teams that are really good in that front, you look on the front seven, it's like 3-4 first rounders.
Sure.
Like, you got to pay to play for that.
Sure. And so, like, people I've heard describe and I might be wrong about this, but I want to ask you, and I appreciate your response. You play like a gap and a half.
Yeah.
So can you explain when they start to talk about gap and a half to you, what does that mean?
So you want to have an attacking mindset in your primary gap. So you want to create knockback in that primary gap, but you're not just finishing up. You just that's your primary. When the ball shows up in another location, then you have a secondary gap.
Right.
So it's primary, secondary, and typically the secondary gap is shared with somebody else's secondary gap. Right, so if I'm an A-gap player and I'm going into the opposite A, then the linebacker's probably a B-gap player that's falling into that A-gap as well. So then that's when you're able to kind of eliminate that space and converge on the football, but you're playing it with your hands. At the second level, obviously, that's those guys being able to work lateral and then punch a hole in the front there. But at up front, you want guys to be aggressive because you have to convert to pass rush and everything like that. So when you think about, like, this is when I was in Green Bay with KC, he was the best nose in football, in my opinion, at doing this style because he plays with good length and he has a good anchor. Quentin Williams, this is how he played at Alabama. This is what Saban does in the mint front and everything else with that. You're getting guys off the ball, but it's just how you play the blocks in the run game in terms of just constricting that space and being able to use your hat and hands to arm over and fall back into another gap.
Man, he broke that down. Man, I could play. I could play this now the way he explained. Man, boy, the way he just broke that down, boy, I could do that. Man, Byron Joe DeVee said, just because you're a billionaire doesn't mean you know what you're doing. Man, let me tell you something. Boy, Christian Parker just broke that down, man. That gap and a half, that makes so much sense. How he broke that down. Yeah, if they get this guy the players, shoot, he in. Brandy, this is what I think the Cowboys are trying to do. I believe they want to get GP in that $33 million, somewhere in that range. And so if nobody offers, and this is what we're going to be waiting on now. It's going to be GP. It's going to be GP watch. We got to see if the odds are in the Cowboys' favor, because It sounds like everybody's saying that there's no way this happens. All right, let's listen to more Christian Park. I'm going to look up and see if I can find if anybody has ever kind of bid on that non-exclusive tag.
Cowboys defensive coordinator Christian Parker joining us here on
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate that.
So, Coach, when you're talking about these different responsibilities and reading and reacting, would you say that the scheme that you're envisioning, you would say, hey, biggest priority for me is the mental side of it and the ability to read and react even more than just raw athleticism?
Yes and no. I mean, I still think that you want a lot of athletic, fast guys because there are going to be times where there's space and you have to eliminate it. So you don't want. We're not trotting out a team of a YMCA basketball team. Right. We still want to be fast and aggressive, but I will say there's a premium on instincts. There's a premium on the brain. At different spots, they have to handle a different mental workload in terms of where their eyes have to be, what could potentially happen if this happens. If 3 blocks, then it's this. If 2 blocks, then it's this. If everybody goes vertical, then this changes my job here, but it also affects these guys over here. It might be 2 guys looking at one person that kind of affects how we're playing 3 over, for example. So you want guys to be able to kind of process those things quickly. But you can't go out there just like with a bunch of height, weight, speed guys either.
Yeah.
This is not an operation where we're going to roll the ball out in the Whataburger parking lot and just play 7-on-7. You know what I mean? We got to be able to process and do those things the right way. So
that was smooth. That was very good.
Nice smooth Whataburger reference.
That was good.
I'm a spicy catch.
Yeah, this dude right here, Pimp C's younger brother. Yeah, he can break stuff down. Yeah, he nice with it.
Fans.
Oh, really? Oh my! The YouTube just blew up.
He's got a lot of confidence in himself too. If you hadn't noticed, he's got a lot of confidence in himself. I like the fact he has that kind of confidence. He does. Jeffrey Davis, what's going on? Welcome to the congregation tonight. He said, let's stop and remember the last team to put a high caliber player on the non-exclusive tag. That player, and they put in a poison pill where the contract would be fully guaranteed. I'm going to show you something else, too. I got something here, and I think it's very ironic of the answer I just found on this non-exclusive tag. Let's finish up on Christian Parker.
On to the fan tags.
So when I'm curious, how much have you seen? We've heard you are a big note taker. You keep a lot of records. You are very big on seeing things and learning from them and things like that. How much have you seen over your course in the NFL that hybrid nickel safety position changed just in the last 5 years?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I think when I first got in the league in 2019, that position was seen more so as like, the corner who's not fast enough, 7th round pick, undrafted guy. You throw him in there, he's only playing half your snaps, and you kind of have a role for him. He's a pass down guy, 5'10", 185, whatever. As time has progressed, especially as stuff has started moving from the college game, that is a specific position in college. When I was at Notre Dame, that was Drew Tranquil. Then Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah played that for us as well. That was his backup. Those guys ended up being linebackers. Then it kind of started moving down from the safety or corner position with a guy who can just do it all. So he has very good instincts, but you want that guy. It's not a throwaway player. Now it's a premium draft pick. So you think about, Cooper and the Trent McDuffies, Nick Emanuori. These are premium players you're finding because now you're in nickel 70-75% of the time, unless teams are in these ultra big groupings. So you need a guy who can be an every down player. So you kind of have a 12th starter in a sense in terms of, how you assess that player and what it looks like because he's on the field an awful lot. And he has to be able to play the run, play the pass. He eliminates the RPO screen game. He has to be able to do all of those things. So it's a Swiss Army knife.
When and I know you kind of hit the ground running here. You get hired, you come in, you study your team, you kind of know what you have. As you look at some of these, and I'm not going to ask you to name names for these current players or anything like that, but are there players in this draft that fit exactly what, in your mind's eye, that fit exactly what you want to do to get this defense going again?
Absolutely. I think that, it starts off with the film process.
Right.
Then you spend more time with them here, going to pro days, bringing them in on the 30 visits, and
I agree, football fanatic.
Figuring out the brain, right? We talked about that, and you don't want to get a finished product. You just want to know what the aptitude is like to see what that can look like. You don't want a lot of guys that are just running around in the dark just because they're fast. You want guys who can think the game, and usually you can just tell how knowledgeable they are about their scheme. and then you just want to check the retention and kind of seeing how they explain those things. You just want to know what you're working with. And as long as the guy's is not like a complete throwaway, then you know you can build on whatever he's at that current moment.
Has a kid ever blown you away on a board?
Yeah.
Where you just sat back and you go, this kid gets it.
Yeah, there've definitely been a couple over the course of my career,
Right.
where it's like, wow. A lot of times those are guys who have been in the same defense for, 4 years in college.
Sure.
They've installed it to the freshmen 3 or 4 times and stuff like that too. But, yeah, there've definitely been a couple over the course of the career where it's like, wow, that was impressive. But it doesn't surprise you usually because you see that type of player on tape already.
Sure.
So you're just hoping the fact that it's connected in that regard, and it usually is.
Well, how long does it take when you're watching? It could be a college player or somebody when you come here and you're watching the players that are currently on the team. How long does it take for you to watch them and say, okay, that guy doesn't fit what we're looking to do, or he does?
Yeah, I think it probably takes longer because I'm more of the mindset that you want to figure out what a guy does well first before you figure out what he can't do. So I'm watching, trying to find the intriguing traits. And then the more you watch it, then you're like, okay, this isn't really a fit. He's a too linear, or up front he's too small at this spot, doesn't use his hands, or his arms are too short. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the case might be. Now, there's always a place to take a certain player. But when you're talking, first, second, third round, there's certain things that you're targeting at certain spots.
Coach, I always want to ask you this about coaching the coaches. And you brought in a unique group of coaches, the process you went to. And can you kind of talk about what you were envisioning with your staff and as with the teachers or communicators? What were you looking for as you were doing this, and talk about how you coach your coaches?
Yeah, I think what we were looking for was the best teachers, first and foremost, guys that were experts in their area of expertise. I think that we went through, Shadi and I kind of talking through it with Will and the Joneses and everything else, like how thorough can we be in this approach? How many different exposures can we get to a guy so that shows and shines through? Because you don't have to listen and hear long to know, what exactly you're looking for. So in certain spots, you're looking for more of a schematic contribution. Certain guys are just coaching that position,
right?
Obviously with understanding of the scheme. But compatibility is huge. You want guys that are going to work well with others in that regard, but there is a balance in terms of where you want these ideas to come from, and then kind of blend them all together.
You're going to get a head coaching job here soon. You got the next defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys here on your staff?
Yes. Yeah, I think we do. I think we have a couple of them.
Do you?
Obviously, they can't all be for Cowboys, but
sure,
we have a couple guys that definitely have that aptitude. Some guys like Scott who have done it.
Sure.
And DA. But, we definitely have that on the staff.
Coach, the reviews are rolling in. Our boss said he's resigning. You can lead the radio station. What you and brought us to the back, boy, it was a treat. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Best of luck to you.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. The thing about Christian Parker now, man, the proof is going to be in the pudding. The Cowboys got to get him the players. If they get him the players and don't give him too many of these leftover players saying, do what you can with what we have, I think Christian Parker is going to do some damage. Now, let me show you something that's funny. Guess who, or at least according to what I found, guess who was the last team to lose a player to the non-exclusive tag? The team that got the player and the position of the player. Y'all are going to find nothing but irony in what I'm about to reveal to you. I'm not sure if this is right, but this is what it says on Google. Let me say it again. The last team to lose a player to the non-exclusive tag, the position that he played, and the team that they lost him to. This is crazy when you see this. Check out who it is. And I don't know if these are the two most notable. That's what it says, the two most notable. Anybody remember that dumb trade or that dumb deal the Cowboys gave Joey Galloway? It was Joey Galloway in 2000. The wide receiver was tagged by the Seattle Seahawks. he signed an offer sheet with the Dallas Cowboys, which the Seattle Seahawks declined to match, receiving 2 first-round picks. Man, anybody remember this? Boy, man, that doggone Galloway thing never turned out. That Joey Galloway move never turned out for the Cowboys, man. We also had somebody lose him in 1998, looks like. At least these are the 2 most notable. I'd have to look a little bit more to see who else it is, if there was any more. But this is the very reason why a lot of people are thinking that this isn't going to happen, because it happens so rarely. It just happens so rarely. So it's ironic that the last player that got lost to this was a wide receiver to the Dallas Cowboys. So everybody's banking on George Pickens, nobody offering George Pickens. Nobody offering George Pickens. Man, I'm telling you, Rombowski, 400 pairs of shoes. Man, that's a lot of shoes, man. Man, that's a lot of shoes. Woo-wee. It's a lot of shoes. Bama Boy said, G, tell me why as Cowboy fans we go through this every offseason. Parsons' deal should have been enough. You know what? I'm going to still hold out hope. I'm going to hold out hope that the Cowboys get this done in March. I'm going to hold out hope. Because I think what they're waiting on, I'm just going to hope this is what they're doing. Maybe it's not so much they want him to play on the tag. Maybe it's more of they don't want his price to be at $40 million, 38, 39, 39, 38. Maybe they're wanting that deal to be somewhere at 30 to 35 or 30 to 33. Maybe they're wanting that type of deal. They don't want the $40 million deal. So they're going to prove, or at least this is what they're trying to do, they're going to prove to David Mulugeta that you can't do us like this, and we're not going to pay George Pickens $41 million because nobody else will. I think that's what they're banking on. They're banking on nobody else is willing to do it. So if they do it, if nobody else does it, then the Cowboys will probably, I don't think they're going to wait. I think they'll sign him. Ron said, this man knows his stuff and the football IQ is through the roof, G. I think we have one. I agree. Yep. Yeah. Baltimore used it on Lamar Jackson. Very few teams lose a player to this non-exclusive tag. But again, in the year 2000, the Seattle Seahawks lost a player to the Dallas Cowboys, and it was a wide receiver. And boy, I remember that Joey Galloway thing. Man, Joey Galloway was... Boy, Cowboys should have been shaming themselves. Man, I don't know which deal was worth, Rombowski. Tell me which one was worth. Worse. Joey Galloway or Roy Williams? Boy, I don't know which one was worse, boy. Cowboys gave up the farm for Roy Williams. That joker came in here, didn't do nothing, man. Didn't do nothing. So I understand why they're doing this. And so, hey, maybe this is going to be a way that a lot of teams are going to start dealing with these agents. And they'll probably put more things in place like this. Yep. Sebastian said Dallas Cowboys free agent targets. Man, I'm hoping Jalen Phillips is the guy. I'm hoping Jalen Phillips was the guy. Chanel, that Galloway bust was crazy, wasn't it? Boy, that boy Joey Galloway was a total bust, man. Man, that thing... Cowboys got this man when he was on fumes. I don't even know if he was on fumes, Rombowski. I don't even know if he was on fumes, Rombowski, Chanel. Boy, that Joey Galloway thing was, boy, it give you nightmares just thinking about it, man. It just give you nightmares thinking about that, boy. And Roy Williams too, man. Roy Williams was terrible, boy. That Roy Williams thing was terrible. Rumbowski said they had both. You talking about the Rams? They had both Holt and Bruce in St. Louis. Then Moss and Carter in Minnesota and Keyshawn Galloway produced. But there were a lot better wide receivers in the league at that time. Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. Yes, sir. Boy, I'll tell you, that Roy Williams thing was crazy, bro. That was crazy. Boy, we've done some... Boy, man, Rita said, boy, Roy Williams give me nightmares, boy. Boy, that dude never panned out, man. Never panned out. Demetrius said the problem with Eberflus was he didn't know his players' strengths and weaknesses, and Eberflus was confused 10% of the time, and 90% of the time, he confused the players. Demetrius, I'm gonna tell you something else though about Matt Eberflus. Matt Eberflus put in very little work because I think he just was telling the Cowboys, y'all don't have the players. I just think that's what he was telling them. He didn't have the players. So he wasn't going to waste his time. Rod Hatter said, I think Roy was worse. I do too, man. Yeah, Roy was terrible, man. Cowboys gave up the farm for Roy Williams, man. Roy was terrible. Terrible, 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 man. Yeah, the defense is definitely going to be better. Defense is definitely going to be better, man. Chanel said Lions received a first, a third, and a sixth. One of the worst deals in history. Boy, one of the worst deals in history, boy. That Roy Williams, man. That dude did, man, terrible, man. All right, let's hit this last topic real quick. It's only going to take us a minute, then we're going to get out of here. I was laughing when I saw the Dallas Cowboys NFL grades. Now, the NFL said that these grades were not supposed to get out, and these grades got out. And I don't know if y'all seen these grades for the Cowboys. I got to admit, I was pretty impressed by, there is one grade that I was very impressed by as it pertains to the Dallas Cowboys. And if you haven't seen these grades, somebody who has not seen the grades, tell me, what do y'all think the grade was for the general manager and the team ownership? What do you think the grade was for the Dallas Cowboys general manager and the team ownership? I think the grade is going to surprise a lot of people. And I've told y'all before, you'll see how these players feel about Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and this ownership and front office. Somebody who hasn't seen the grades, tell me what you think. Tell me what you think the grades are. Rod Curry, you said you seen the grades. Rod Curry, were you surprised? Somebody tell me, what do you think the grades are for the general manager and the team ownership? What do you think it is? Rena said he think it's a B+. Anybody else? Mr. Range Rover, he said a C. Yeah, Bama boy, it sounds like we're going to be gap sound. That's what was killing us. Jeremy said, to be fair, offensive OT was too much to pay Joey Galloway, and then he had the he had the bad knees, yes sir. But gee, we had some terrible quarterback play there too. Vinny Testaverde and oh man, don't remind me of Quincy Carter them days. Aaron Wright, boy, people do not understand, boy. People do not understand, boy. Papa Shug said a Z. Crazy. Chuck Rose said a J minus. Said a J minus. Daddy Salazar said B minus. Diesel said A minus. Kevin Ellis said D plus. All right, let's run down these grades for the Cowboys facility. And I was actually blown away. The treatment of families, a B. I'm not surprised. Now, this is the one that kind of strikes me a little bit strange. The home game field is a C? I'd like to know what that's about. The food in the dining area, they gave a B. The nutritionist and the dietitian, they gave a B+. The locker room, they gave a B+. The training room, it hasn't improved. Nor the training, well, I don't know. I can't remember what the training staff was the last time, but this is pretty bad. The Cowboys need to improve on this training room and training staff thing because this has been a problem. The weight room, they gave it an A-. Strength coaches, they gave it an A-. Position coaches, they get... Booby D said an X. Boy, you crazy. Offense coordinator, they gave an A. Can y'all believe they gave the defensive coordinator a C? What? Can't even believe he got a C. Special teams coordinator, they gave a B+. Team travel, they gave a C. Head coach, they gave an A-. I was blown away. General manager and team ownership, they gave a B. Wow. Wow. Gave him a B. So, at the end of the day, they like him. Mr. Range Rover said, we really don't have home field advantage. I've said that for the past 5 years. It's like we went through a stint, Mr. Range Rover. I can't remember. It might have been 2023. We went through a stint where we started winning at home. But for the most part, I agree with you. It's like it hasn't been a home field advantage for the Cowboys. Rombowski, he says because he said it's because AT&T attracts a lot of opposing teams fan that wants to see Jerry World. Then it's built outwards, not up, which doesn't make it a very loud environment for opposing teams. Oh, great point. Oh, I didn't even think about that, Brandon Cup. It's about those silly window blinds. Didn't think about that. That could be an issue. Yep, I didn't think about that. Because I was going to say, I just thought the field for the Cowboys, I just thought it was nice. Home game field. I would assume they're talking about the field. Mr. Range Rover said, and during workouts, you can tour the Star. Yeah, the Cowboys need to do something about this training issue, though. Training room and training staff, they need to do something about that. They do. Papa Shug said if they get rid of Pickens and put them on... he said if they get rid of Pickens, put them on academic probation. Yeah. You know, and again, I think the Cowboys, Papa Shug, I think what they're trying to do, I understand what they're doing. They don't want to be at the mercy of these agents anymore. They don't want to be at the mercy of these agents anymore. And I'm telling you, the next CBA, I will not be surprised if they put more mechanisms in place to stop agents from strong-arming teams into giving these humongous contracts. I think they're going to do this more and more. I really do. Bama boy, I'm in agreement with you. I'm in agreement with you, Bama boy. If somebody offers GP, it is going to be a gotcha moment for Jerry. It is. It is. And 2 first-round picks, they may get you more players. I just don't think they replace the productivity of a George Pickens. Poopy D, you said the Star is nice. Yeah, I plan on going this coming football season. I haven't decided if I'm going to go to the game and go to the game as in the stadium or go to the game and do a tailgate party and watch the game outdoors. I haven't decided which one I'm going to do. But I got a notion of that's kind of what one of the two I'm going to do that this coming year. Mr. Range Rover said, I talked to Darren Woodson today. They're understaffed in the training staff, especially when the player is rehabilitating. Okay. Ron Hanna says CP will have to clean out this locker room because 80% of the players don't fit this criteria. Ron Hanna, this is where I'm concerned. I'm very concerned. Because it seems like in this first year, Christian Parker is being asked by the Dallas Cowboys to see what he can do with the players they have currently. It seems like that's what he's being asked to do. What can you do with the players we have currently? And so we're going to see this year. So, again, where I thought the Cowboys may be going all in, I'm not sure if they're going all in because they may want to give they may want to give Christian Parker a year to kind of get acclimated to the players and things of that nature. We're going to see. We're going to see. Demetrius said if GP get traded, I would not be at AT&T. We already know what the team looks like without GP. I'm going to hold out hope. I think this is about keeping George Pickens at a certain price. I think that's what this move is about. They're willing to take this chance because they don't think it's really a chance. I really think that's where they are. I don't think they think it's a chance. I also think they believe that not only is it really not taking a chance, it's not really taking a risk. They don't feel like it's a risk. They feel like it's advantageous because once you let the market dictate the price, nobody can be mad, and then we can come in and say, okay, this is what we're going to pay you. You can't get this nowhere else. Take it or leave it. I think this is where they are. I still say, though, you're taking a chance. You're still taking a risk, no matter how large, no matter how small. Tired Cowboy fan, he said this move ensures you don't lose GP. I don't think it ensures you don't lose GP. I think you're betting the odds to say that the risk of losing George Pickens is probably around what? 5%? There's a chance you can lose him, but it's a 5% chance. Because I tell you right now, if somebody come and offer George Pickens $40 million, man, Cowboys not offering. Cowboys not matching that. I don't even think they'll match 38 or 39. I don't even think they'll match that. I think a team could come in at 37 and a half, and I don't think the Cowboys would match it. I don't think they would match it. Nope, don't think they would match it. Danny Salazar said if the Cowboys can get Pickens and Max Crosby, they can win the Super Bowl. Well, they're going to have to they're going to have to get their own versions of those players. Mr. Range Rover, I do believe this. I believe they're going to get this guy to personnel. I really do. Ron Bowski said, Jerry thinks he said, the Sun makes for a good visual on TV despite even his own receivers losing the ball. The stadium already had motorized curtain used in the concerts. He simply won't use them. Won't use them. Nope. Won't use them. Ron Hansen, I remember CD in a bag of Doritos. Bama said, G, remember when Alvin Harper wanted to get paid, went to Tampa and wasn't the same. I don't think that's going to happen to GP. I think GP is better than Alvin Harper. I do. Jaden said, who's going to pay him and give away 2 first-round picks? Well, I just showed you the example. I don't know if you were looking at it, that Jaden. I just showed you that example. Man, other teams don't think about these first-round picks like we do because they're closer to winning. For us, we would love to have 2 more first-round picks. But when you're a team that you're already winning, you're already going to playoffs, you might look at George Pickens as that player to say, he's the wide receiver that we're looking for. There's no wide receiver in this draft that we could spend the first-round draft pick on and get, especially if you're one of these good teams. You're drafting at the back of the draft. You can't you can't draft at the top and get one of the best wide receivers. So for you, why wouldn't you be willing to give up a first-round draft pick for a prime 24-year-old phenom in George Pickens? Why wouldn't you be willing to do that if you're a team that's already winning? You're already winning. All you need is another player. I mean, all you need is a player like GP, for example. I mean, for example, you think about a team like the Seattle Seahawks. What would they care about a first-round draft pick, Paul? They're number 32. This year, they're drafting at 32, 64, 96, and 212. Does anybody think the Seattle Seahawks really care about a first-round draft pick? What if they wanted to add George Pickens to their team? What if they said, hey, man, let's add some more firepower. Let's go get George Pickens. and really make our offense unstoppable. I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm just saying it's still a risk. It's still a risk. As small as it is, it's still a risk. But I understand what the Cowboys are. The Cowboys are saying it's not a risk because we don't believe anybody's going to do it. This is going to set the market for what George Pickens is. I'm hoping they're not trying to get him to play on the tag. They will probably sign George Pickens to around, I say around $33, $34 million. 3-year deal, $65 million guaranteed. I'm not concerned about George Pickens being gone, but I do think the Cowboys, even though it could be a small fire, I still say the Cowboys are playing with fire. Never say never. Never say never. Man, some of these teams want to win Super Bowls bad. And if they see a player like him and they say, well, we're one player away, they might go get him. Cleveland Browns could try to break the bank. I don't think he would sign with the Cleveland Browns, though. The defense is great, but they got to get a whole new offensive line. And the way they're talking about their quarterback situation, I don't know if he want to go there. But nevertheless, I'm hoping they get this over with sooner than later. I really do. All right, guys, I appreciate y'all rocking with me tonight. Y'all, hey, man, it's Friday. Go out there and have fun. Go out to eat. Put God first. And I'll see y'all again tomorrow, if the Lord is willing. Appreciate y'all rocking with me. Best chat on YouTube. Until the next time, DC4L, God bless. Let's talk Cowboys and we talk facts. Peace.